All right, welcome everybody to another Tank Talk. This time we're talking TBC Prot Parsing, joined as always by the man himself, Riani. How are you doing, Riani?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's so good to do this again. Last time we hung out was in December of last year, and I was on some scuffed internet in Hawaii, which I'm not gonna complain about being in Hawaii. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it is nice to be able to just sit here with you today on a stable internet with a nice cup of tea and just enjoy this lovely face of yours.
I mean, it was definitely an interesting time. It spiced up, the whole chat, having you, suddenly appear, then go away for a little bit, suddenly reappear. And
Hear the chickens and the waves in the background. Yeah.
yes, I mean, the view that we saw for the whole like 3 minutes or whatever, it looked incredible. Like when we were able to
Right.
see it,
Right.
it looked really good. But it also lended itself very well to making you the Darumu part of the thumbnail, because that fight, as you would know in Throne Thunder, was very buggy, and your camera was very buggy. So I was like, it just
That's
makes
true.
sense. We put Riani's face on Darumu, and that's the thumbnail right there. Made it easy.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
must have
appreciate
changed
that.
either.
All right. So first off, we're just gonna kind of talk about our TBC experience so far. After that, we'll get into some parsing stuff, and really excited to hear about the one hand twisting stuff, because that's stuff I heard some whispers of, like people might be trying out, and I know Riani last couple of weeks at least has been diving into that. So I'm curious to hear how that's going, and yeah, just break that down. But so far in TBC, what are your impressions of it? I guess also, did you play last time? What? How would you compare it to this time? All that stuff.
Yeah. So last time, I in my mind, I was kinda, I wouldn't say hardcore for sure, but I had it in my mind that I was a lot better than I was. And then I went back and looked at the logs because obviously they're still up from since the last time, and it didn't look as good as I thought. There were a few 99s and stuff like that, but I
Yeah.
thought I was better at the game. Uh, um, but yeah, I did play the last time around. I did play a bear the entire time. Um, Primarily the reason for that was because I leveled a feral druid in vanilla when 2019, and for some reason I wanted to be a bear tank in vanilla. Kind of took a more of a casual approach for sure, but I um, just wanted to do something different, and I leveled up, and I had a lot of fun with it, especially doing a lot of cat stuff, um, getting that wolf shed helmet and doing some power shifting, and it
Oh yeah.
was fun. But I despise max level content in vanilla. It is not for me.
Same. I'm right
Um,
there with you.
yeah,
The whole world buff
yeah,
meta, worst thing that's ever happened in the game, I think.
100%, 100%. And so I wasn't originally gonna be playing TBC the first time around either, but it's just so kind of happened that the evening that TBC launched, my wife was gonna hang out with one of her friends, and I got to the computer. I'm like, "Oh, TBC launched today. All right, let's log on and see what it's all about." And well, I sure stuck around after that as well. Different this time around is that I went into the expansion with a much more of a hardcore philosophy. I would still say that I am quite casual this time around. I am I don't have professions.
No
I
professions.
I have engineering at
Okay.
300, like low
Yeah.
300, so I can use the bad sapper. Um,
Honestly, that saves you a lot of money. The good sappers cost so much. I always
they
have zero
they
gold right
do.
now because I was buying them.
We'll get into the gold conversation later. Don't get me wrong, because that is my world buffs. Um,
Yeah.
and so I don't have a professions. I don't have my bis ring because I just haven't gotten too exalted with my reputation. I
Nice.
don't have the healer trinket for the double spell
Yeah.
power trinket usage, which we'll get into a little bit later, I assume. Um, there's so much I don't have, and I'm taking, and I'm okay with that. Just taking things a little bit more casually and prioritizing, not min maxing at every level of the game, but still, I'm still able to compete,
Mhm.
and um, I think I have a recipe for success that I think after this raid on Sunday, I think might propel me higher in the standings than I think like rank 7 or something like right now.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, but so my experience with TBC is overall better than I thought because I was going into the expansion kind of just like, okay, well, let's have something to do while MoP is completely dead. But I'm starting to like it more and more because I think there is more skill expression than you might think. I think people sleep a little bit on the complexity of the protection paladin specifically. There is so much cheese, and if you're into that kind of stuff, then I think TBC is a great expansion. So I'm getting into it, but there is one big gripe that I have, and that is that I'm spending so much gold way faster than I could ever hope to get it, especially at like a if you're not a absolute logging in and farming for hours and hours and hours. um it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been, every week I have to farm Skolo for a few hours just to get my consumes for the week, and then I'm back to like 0 gold, and then we do it all again next week, and yeah, honestly, it's already kind of wearing on me. Like last TBC,
Yeah.
this was like the only game I was playing, and so I was fine with it. I was like, yeah, all I do is play TBC, so like obviously I'm gonna spend 20 hours a week in Skolo, and then this TBC, like I've got other stuff I want to do. This is not my main focus, and it's like it feels like a chore just trying to get your
Yeah.
consumes for raid every week. And
It's
like
not
you,
only the consumes, it's just how much of a startup cost there is to getting, everything that you want. I still like if I were to sweat out, I would still have to level blacksmithing and max it, go
yeah,
hammersmithing, and all of that stuff, that's thousands of gold. And then you mentioned consumes, but that's not the only thing either, because let's be real, you're going to be swapped around in groups week to week, depending on what you need. And then, okay, well, all right, so that means you need to bring in 10 man, you need to bring um, improved Seal the Crusader, you need to bring Sankara this week, or this week you don't need to bring Sankara. And every time I respec, it's at least 50 gold that goes out the window. And I raid on different days too, Kara and 25 man. So
mhm,
often I'll find myself raid specking twice a week, which is that's 100 gold that just goes out the window every week there as well. So the the gold is a real struggle
oh
for
yeah,
me. I have a pretty good farm that I do that I get like around 300 to 350 gold per hour with, but it's still taxing on the mental. So I'm using a lot of cheap scrolls and stuff like that to combat that a little bit at least.
yeah. I mean, the dual spec definitely helped a lot, but I am still like respecing constantly, and then for arena too, I'm going like ret for arena to get the arena points. But I mean, luckily they did make it a lot easier to get arena points. Let's go, and you can get weapon at 1700, and having a 1700 5 seam gets you almost 2000 points a week, and it's very low stress. But I do need to still respec for those games, so that is 50 gold each time. Well, I guess 100 gold because you got respec. You spec into ret, and then you spec back into the thing you actually wanted. And
I definitely run, just the normal, vengeance spec when I do PvP.
All right.
But
Nice.
yeah, but I actually haven't been able to get people to run with over the last few weeks. So I'm falling behind a little bit because I there is a lot of PvP gear that I want to pick up from Arena, especially helmet and
Yeah.
the yeah, I need to maybe plug some people in trade chat or something like that. Just run it down.
I mean, just sell it as like a, viewer experience. They get to play with Riani in Arena. For sure not carrying Riani in Arena in his Prot spec, Arena spec, but just playing with him, having a good time,
Yeah, I think I'll probably get negative 2 people signing up for that.
Yep. Yeah, we had somebody signed up, they just dropped out. So next week though. Next week for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I mean for me, I played TBC last time as a prop. I actually started as a rogue. My whole thing was I was going super hard on arena because I mean rogue is what I played like the first 16, 17 years I played WoW. I always had like tank alts, but I was mainly a arena rogue. I had like 3 rogues, maybe 4 ready to go for TBC. I was gonna play, all these different rogues, just spam arena on everything. Did really well. We did great. I had a choose partner I really liked. We had some great couple weeks of early TBC. We got, I think, maybe like top 20. We were beating like Wound Man, Peekaboo. Honestly, Peekaboo's way better at Rogue than me. It's just he hadn't learned how to play TBC Rogue yet. Otherwise, he would, destroy me. But we did great. We were doing great. And then unfortunately, this particular guy, he's one of those guys that gets really into the game for like 2 weeks and then he like quits. He disappears for like a few months and then he gets really into it again for 2 weeks and then he quits again. So after the inevitable happened, I was like, all right, I'm like looking around for partners and it was the typical like arena thing where like 90% of the people you run into are toxic and like you don't want to like spend one-on-one time, playing tons of 2v2 games with them and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh man, like it's gonna be so hard to find a good player that I actually want to be around, for extended periods of time. And it just wasn't working out. So I ended up just re-rolling tank. I was like, if I'm gonna be a PvE only player, I've always wanted to be a tank if I was gonna be PvE only. I always had to play rogue in PvE because, a lot of the best PvP gear comes from raiding. So hopped into Pally and didn't look back after that. But that meant I started playing Pally like toward the end of phase 1 last time. So this is my first time actually playing prop Pally from the get-go. So that was kind of cool because some of the gearing was a little bit different last time. Kara, for example, like right when I dinged 70, I went right into a Kara. Last TBC right. Wasn't even available this TBC right at launch, so a little bit different. It was kind of cool though. I really liked the couple weeks where we only had heroics and we had like bad gear and stuff. It was pretty cool. It was basically like 5-man raids. It felt like, and I thought that was pretty awesome. You actually had to be like pretty careful with pulls and stuff like that. And then like the raids come out and they're easier than the 5-mans. It's really weird like difficulty change. It was an odd decision doing the pre-nerf heroics and post-nerf raids. I don't fully understand that one, but I mean, I think heroics, like even if both are pre-nerf, I think heroics are still harder, honestly. But at least the difficulty is a little bit closer, But
yeah, it was a little bit weird, that's the power structure where you kind of like felt like, oh shit, I'm kind of am I gonna get clapped going to raid because in heroics, I'm holding up fine, but I am getting chunked at times. And then you go into raid and you're like, oh, never mind, this hits for less.
Yeah,
than what
wait
the
a
rogues do.
second. This boss hits half as hard as an adept in Blood Furnace.
Oh, we don't talk about the adepts in here. That's so this is a safe space. We do not bring up adepts in here.
I'm sorry. The trauma is too recent.
Yeah. Luckily, I did get the Libram on the first run, so you know
Ooh,
I have not stepped
very
into
nice.
BF since that. Uh, but yeah, I do like. I am kind of glad that we did get that experience because honestly, like previous gearing in any expansion is, in my opinion, like the pinnacle of of that expansion. Like leveling up and gearing for raid, you're never gonna beat that feeling. Um, Personally, I don't care about the raids. Nothing comes close to do the previous grind and get a new piece of gear, working towards that, you know, getting your badges and finally just getting that big dopamine and using your trinket for the first time, you know,
Hmm.
it's good. It's good shit, man. Um,
I don't think
and
you're alone in that. Cause I mean, look how popular fresh servers are. Everybody always wants fresh.
yeah,
It's such an exciting time, leveling up, doing those early dungeons. You're hanging out with all your guildies, and I mean, assuming you like your guildies, otherwise that might be a
right.
downside. But
Yeah.
yeah, just it's just like a fun little like environment where you don't really get to experience that again. It's just like it grades, the rest of the expansion. You got 25 people, and so like the more tight knit like 5-man groups you're running with early.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And then you know you get to a spot where everyone's just raid logging, and then you know it's that's
Yeah.
fine too. But it's you know obviously not as fun as all the hype is in the beginning and whatever else. But yeah,
Yeah. TBC in particular, I think, is like extra fun in the beginning, because of the heroics being like a more interesting version of 5-man content than I guess you ever really get again. Because like Wrath heroics, I mean, they're like probably easier than even the normal dungeons in TBC, I would say. Like
I'd say so. Yeah.
they're just crazy easy.
And you also get you kind of like get gear quicker as well. So like
Mhm.
while you like maybe might have a few runs where you're just like fresh on 80 and you
Mhm.
don't do any gearing, you're gonna get you know badges. And you're gonna get epic loot from the last boss, and you know you just the pacing.
Yeah.
You still get like 200 eye level blues as well from every boss. Like the you just get gear a lot quicker, so you don't really have to deal with that difficulty that you have for the first one for very long.
Yeah.
Whereas in TBC, it takes a heck of a lot longer to gear up.
Yeah, the loot tables are much smaller in Wrath too, so you're just more likely to get the stuff you want. I mean, you look at some of the loot tables for these TBC heroic bosses, there's like 15 items on them. And I mean, you talk to anybody, and somebody's had an experience with some item where it's like, oh, I've ran this dungeon 20 times for this blue item, not even like one of the epic ones. I've been trying to get, the righteous shoulders or whatever it is. Uh ran the dungeon 20 times, never seen it. Beast Lord for hunters, that's a big one. Steam Vaults.
You want to
It
know how long it took me to get my Libram from the calls?
I'm gonna guess like 15.
60.
What?
Yep.
There's no way. I'm gonna need
Yep.
receipts on this one, Riani.
You can ask Flexi. He was helping me out like every time doing like the 5 until locked, and oh man, it was rough, man.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, last TBC, I feel like I had to run it like 10 or 15 times, and I thought that was crazy. 60 is
Yeah,
insane.
last time
What the hell?
I got it while I was leveling, so you know this is just karma.
Yeah, I mean, I've had crazy luck this time. I mean, I got it, I think, my second run while I was leveling that one. And then some of the epic ones I got a little bit quicker too. Last time every single epic I wanted took me 20 plus runs. Broke Arcatraz, dude, 20 times. Jesus Christ. part of my soul is still in that prison from 5 years ago.
Yeah. Now, I did not bother with any of those pieces at all. I just said fuck it and PvP'd.
Yeah.
Ultimately that's what I would be using now anyway. So I feel like I didn't really miss out much.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, things like the belt, it's nice for, Uncrush set, but also just see like
Yep.
Crimson Girdle of the Indomitable. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's options, but early on when, I mean, the raids weren't even out, we were just vibing in heroics. We needed the badges anyway. It was like, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
go for it, give it a shot. You only get to do the beginning of TBC grind, apparently every X amount of years. But like how many times do we think this is gonna happen? I think is just happening every 5-ish years for the rest of our lives, honestly.
Like I could see that. I could see um there being some original trilogy spin-off after, this next big project that they're cooking up.
Hmm.
People either get um invested in that and they get kind of bored, or it just doesn't really work out and they're just like, all right, well, let's relaunch the original and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's just there. They know they can sell 1 million boosts every time they drop it, and I mean, they don't even
Yeah.
have to really like fix all the bugs or anything. We still have all these like minor things that are just a little bit off. Like certain spell glow effects are a little too bright. Certain quest NPCs really want you to know that you have a quest to pick up there or
Yeah.
a quest to turn in. um, Honestly, I think those quests should give you more XP. Like if the question mark scaling should correlate to like how much XP you get. So like
I agree.
if an NPC has a gigantic question mark, you should get more XP for that one, I think. But
That's true, because it's a bigger question and you provide a bigger
exactly,
answer and
exactly. That's
bigger
what I'm
experience.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So for TBC so far, I mean, I grinded super hard at the beginning, did tons of heroics. It was a blast. It was awesome. It like definitely one of my top like WoW experiences. It was so fun that first like couple weeks of grinding. Raids came out, we kind of stopped doing the heroics. So it's been a little bit less interesting since then, and it's kind of gotten a little bit more into chore mode where is most of my playtime is spent getting gold to be able to do the next raid, which that's not a great version of the game, I think.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I definitely prefer to have like the majority of my time spent actually like raiding and maybe running dungeons, whatever. But that's kind of TBC. It's a very very gold heavy expansion. Prop that's actually using every single consume. You're looking at 500 to 1,000 gold per week on consumes, and
Yeah.
gold's got to come from somewhere. So yeah, and yeah, I've just kind of been raiding and doing solo. That's basically it. And other than that, playing PoE. That's been the grind lately. But
Yeah, and I have it's kind of gonna be the what we do, and from now till the expansion as well.
yeah,
Doesn't really change much.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, consumer requirements are only going to go up, I guess, because like we'll have longer 25-man raids to do, um, where consumes are a little bit more important.
And the resistance gear and
Resist gear, yes, yes, we'll be talking resist gear for sure in a little bit.
oh
But
man,
yeah,
I think my guild is just gonna have to do, with maybe try to get a big HP pool or something.
yeah. I mean, if we're getting all these like post nerf things, I don't think we've had a confirmation for sure. I think our last thing we heard was in December, where Blizzard was like, we're gonna do pre-nerf for rogues, post-nerf phase 1 raids, and then we'll talk about what we want to do for phase 2. A lot of people just assume
Right.
it's gonna be post-nerf, but I don't know. At the time, it kind of seemed like they were leaning towards pre-nerf, and they were like, okay, this one will
Yeah.
be post-nerf, but the next one will probably be pre-nerf. But man,
Yeah.
pre-nerf tier 5 is it's a beast. Mostly the trash. The trash is so bad in pre-nerf tier 5.
The trash for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
and then the
And
boss changes are a little
there's
bit
obviously a
weird.
world where they do, post nerf trash and pre nerf bosses.
That would be my
But
ideal.
yeah, honestly, being a casual as I am, I honestly don't mind just the sounding full post nerf.
Yeah.
For the entire expansion, just have fun with parsing.
Yeah.
Use less consumes and just kind of be allowed to take things a little bit more chill. Like for me personally, I've done the pre nerf stuff. It wasn't as hard as people were saying, and right now I'm fine with just kind of sending it in a post nerf state. But that's just me.
Yeah. I don't really mind either way myself, but I like when bosses have at least like a little bit of pushback to them. Like
Yeah.
some of the changes are like very heavy handed. Like Kael'thas, all the advisors have almost 70% less HP. Kale has like 40% less. You get like one or two phoenixes to spawn the entire fight. Like those are a really important part of the pre-nerf fight. And then the
Right.
post-nerf
Right.
fight, it's like, oh yeah, like they might spawn. It's like it's a weird version of the fight for sure. It takes it from like an iconic like fight to just like whatever, just kind of a
Yeah, that's
long
true.
easy fight. Um, and then like Tidewalker is a weird one too because like the Murlocs just die instantly. I think they lose their armor debuff as well. I can't remember if it wasn't a factor because they just died instantly or they actually just lose the debuff itself. I think they lose the debuff though. But I mean, Tidewalker, like Murloc, you think of Tidewalker, you think of the Murlocs. And post-nerf, the Murlocs like aren't even a thing. Like by the time they're grouped up on the tank, they're just dead. It's
Yeah.
you don't even think about them anymore. In pre-nerf, you
It'll
actually
probably
like
just be
gear around it, and yeah,
yeah, it'll probably just be a case of paladins screaming at their guilds to not touch the ads. It's
yeah,
TOT version 2.
yeah. Yeah. Big thing for parsing. Just leave things alive so consecration can tick on them.
Yep.
That's the dream. All right. You want to get into the parsing segment of this now?
Yeah, I think we can. I don't necessarily want to call it only like a parsing section either, because
Okay.
I feel like there is a lot of information that we can go through that is just gonna be really helpful stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Some of the stuff is gonna be like niches all heck,
Mhm.
and you and me, you and I, we might do it, but it's not gonna be the norm. But yeah, we can
Sure.
we can get into some optimizations and stuff like that.
All right. Yeah. Let's do it. So first thing I want to hear about is the one hand twisting. Um, I have some thoughts on this, but what's your experience with it and pros and cons, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So what I've been saying on stream over the last few weeks is that I think people have been playing Paladin wrong for the last 20 years.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think it's grossly wrong, but I do think that if you like even remotely care about damage, I think the way to go, depending on a few circumstances, is to at the very least have a 2.6, 2.7 speed weapon without spell power on it. Like a non-caster weapon. should be part of your arsenal. Now, it is only really a thing if you are, if it's exclusively a single target fight. Of course, you can swap weapons mid-combat. So on Mechtheridon, I start the fight with the spell power weapon, but then I swap to a non-spell power weapon when Mechtheridon becomes available. And I think even if you are not twisting, the difference between a good one-handed strength weapon, like or not strength, but a melee weapon.
Sure.
Let's say either you have a Spike Bane or you have Fool's Bane, the weapons from Karazhan, and you compare that to the one-handed spell power weapon from Gruul, the DPS is quite similar as it is, even if you are not twisting. And this is assuming that you are in a Wind Fury group, and I know a lot of people aren't. Prop Paladins usually have had this kind of you get relegated to the healer group and, be happy with it. If you have a shaman and, you can get spell power, then, good for you. So it's not going to be something that is, the case for everyone, but I truly believe that having a non-spell power weapon on the vast majority of fights is going to be by far your best choice. And the thing that allows you to do is both you just automatically deal way more melee damage. You almost double your melee damage as you take your damage, your DPS on the weapon from 41 to like 86, something like that. So it's a big swing in just the raw melee damage that you have. And if you have then, if you have Reckoning in your talent tree, that's obviously amplified a lot by that. And that alone is a big gain. But if you put a point in Seal of Command in the Retribution tree, you can also twist with your one-hander. And if you play Rets, you know that the way that you twist is by having your Seal of Blood and going into, I think, whereas you go into Seal. No, you go from Seal of Command into Seal of Blood.
Yeah.
Every time that you do an auto attack. That's not what you do if you're a prop paladin who is twisting. Seal of Command and Seal of Blood is what's called a one-way twist. That means that you can only get the damage amplifier from both seals on the melee swing if you go from Seal of Command into Seal of Blood. Because Seal of Blood doesn't have this, period of time that it stays active after you swap out of it, whereas Seal of Command does. But on Prot, you would still use Seal of Righteousness because Seal of Righteousness and Seal of Command is a two-way twist. So they twist into each other. So you don't have to go into one seal and then go into another seal on the twist, and then you'll keep swapping back and forth like that because that's using way too much mana. It's using way too many globals. Obviously, mana is not that big of an issue if you're tanking on 25 man, especially because you get healed a lot. But it just allows you to use more globals because the things as well, you don't prioritize twisting over everything, right? Twisting as a prot pally is a way to fill globals. So you still prioritize using consecration. Consecration should have 100% uptime, and getting a judgment out, even if it means you're going to lose a twist, is still going to be beneficial for you. The problem with one-hand twisting is that the way that the the table breakdown works for Seal of Command procs is that you get a bigger percent likelihood of getting a proc the slower the weapon is. So if you're one-handers, you're using a one-hander, you only get a proc, like every, I think it's like every 50, every other hit or something like that, that you use it. So it's not as effective as if you are if you're using a two-hander, which we can get into the two-hander stuff a little bit later too, because with the post nerf stuff, that is very much a reality as well that you can start getting into, and I see that some people have already started using it in Kara, and I've used it on some bosses, but just with my normal prot gear. And if you are using a weapon like that, if you're not using a spell power weapon, then expertise becomes your best stat by far. Nothing is even close. Especially when you're looking at rings, for example. Like you definitely want the lower city exalted ring, and if you can get away with it, you want to use the Chathrat leggings, the quest blue leather quest legs, and the leather trash drop deftness gloves from Kara as well. Yeah, it does change up the playstyle quite a bit, and it is really interesting because it turns the pally in from this like low cortisol, beta type of, I'm just gonna press my stuff off cooldown into a spec where you actually kind of have to think a little bit, and you have to know what to prioritize, and you actually have some stakes as well, because you can't fuck up on the twists, right? Like it's not guaranteed, especially if you have a lot of haste, because haste is going to be good, lust, and even haste pot, if you don't need like an armor pot, or if you don't want a spell power pot in like a multi-target scenario. So it is a really interesting way to play the game, and I'm kind of glad that I'm figuring out that it is the way, in my opinion, to play the game, because I think it just makes things a lot more interesting. Now the downside is the best weapon for this kind of thing is Dragon Maw, which is from blacksmithing. However, that is very expensive, and so I'll likely just take the L on that one. But who knows? Maybe some gold will fly out, fall down from a truck or something. Some guild who has a lot of gold. I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, can we get some donations here?
Yeah, I just mailed it to my character right now.
So, I mean, I definitely see the twisting angle of it. Just equipping it like without Wind Fury or twisting or anything, I can't really see the value in it. Just because you're amplifying such a small percentage of your damage. Like your wide attack damage is such a small percent. Obviously, it'll go up when you equip that, but you're taking away, 200 plus whatever spell power from all the other stuff that makes up your rotation. And
if you have the best weapon, that is. Otherwise, it's 150 spell power.
Oh, I mean, we're talking raid, so I would assume, we're talking like 200 plus, right? Because you're talking about a raid weapon, right? For the non-spell power weapon.
Yeah, like if you have like but since we don't have a 200 spell power weapon from Kara, but we do have
we have one from PvP,
right?
So 1700
if you PvP, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
1700 rating. So I would compare, red weapon to red weapon, but yeah, and also when you're amplifying your white damage, that doesn't benefit from Righteous Fury. So while we are doing more damage, we're actually not doing more threat. we're actually doing less threat,
Yep.
which is interesting to look at. Just for reference, so you had a good mag parse. I think it was last week, or was it the week before?
A week before, yeah. Or 3 weeks ago, 3 visits ago.
3 weeks ago. Okay. Yeah, so just to show like kind of the threat difference between these two styles, I pulled, let me switch over. I pulled up the threat graph for this style, the twisting style versus just kind of the standard style. So on mag, this is a fight you had a 244 kill time. We're looking at 1393 threat per second. The high amount of threat per second. And then for somebody just playing standard regular version of Prot 247 kill time, 3 seconds slower than yours. We're looking at 1560. So we're actually losing almost 200 threat per second between the two styles. That said, on this fight, it wasn't consequential, right? Like, I don't think you're even.
I also had abysmal uptime on Consecration, if I'm not mistaken either. So that does definitely add a little bit of
yeah,
of bad
but
threats there.
I mean, that's what comes with the twisting part, right? You're adding more things onto your plate, and you're more likely to mess up.
It was
like,
more that it was the
uptime on
first week
stuff.
that I did it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
going back.
that was like your highest week, though, right?
Yeah, just had good RNG. Yeah.
Good, yeah, because the other ones I looked at were like 200 DPS lower, I think. Like 900 DPS. So that was another thing that was interesting to me, is that I saw like the week one versus I think it was the week after that. I was looking at, and it looked like you did like way more optimizations for like buffs and stuff. You used like Elixir Demon Slaying, and I think you changed your spec. You had like an external sank. Like there were like all these extra optimizations, and like the end result was like 200 less DPS. Mainly, I think just because of the Reckoning uptime, and that's just like such a TBC Pally moment. Is like you make all these optimizations, you're like, dude, we're gonna pump this week. Like we added all this new stuff, and then you're like, what? 200 less DPS? Where are we talking about? Oh, okay. I just didn't get as many Reckoning procs. It's like that's just an experience I've had so many times over the years. It was just so funny. Like it was the first like log I compared, and I was like, that TBC prop eye in a nutshell right there. Like you could 3-craft all you want, but at the end of the day, it's like Proctor Reckoning more on that one. That's it.
Yeah, let's not talk about Vengeance either.
Yeah.
Vengeance comes back to haunt us all once again.
Yeah.
I was comparing a log on Gruel. The person got the rank 1 on Gruel, and they got 3 stacks of Vengeance in the first 4 seconds. I'm like, how do you compete with that?
So I mean, the real thing to do is you like have a trash bomb, you stack your Vengeance right before the boss, then you go in. The logs I've looked at, I haven't seen anybody doing that, but technically if you want parse, you need to do that. Like if you're like truly going for like the best possible parse, you want to pre-prog your Vengeance before the boss, before every boss.
I mean, I guess that's the same
there's
as well.
There's so many levels. I mean, it's sort of like the warrior thing where they like pull rage. This is just like a more toxic version of that, I think.
Yeah,
because you're guaranteed to get rage when you swing. Well, assuming it hits, but whereas a pally getting a crit could take a little bit. Getting 3 crits could take a little bit, but
especially as a prop pally.
Yeah. So I mean, just equipping the DPS one-hander, I feel like it's not worth it, like based on what I've seen. And then when you throw in the twisting, it definitely makes it competitive. But from what I can tell, like comparing your logs of doing that to people that are just doing the standard thing, it seems like it's kind of just a different way to get to the same place. Because like I'm seeing similar numbers. I mean, you look at like Gruul, I think, what are you right now? Like 12, 10, something like that on Gruul. The
Something
ones
like
I
that.
looked at are all above you are all playing standard. Um, it's possible just not enough people are trying the one hand twisting yet. That there's, enough
I mean,
logs to,
that is
get the
definitely
RNG
one.
to get the.
I think that is one thing because as you mentioned with the prop pally, it is very dependent on RNG.
Mhm.
I had one pull that evening that I was way higher on DPS than the rank one for the time that we were alive, but then the
Uh-huh.
next pull I was way lower,
Yeah.
and I think if things just align somewhat well, I think I'll pretty easily be able to beat the rank one,
Mhm.
even with um, the insane procs that they had on Vengeance at the start. Um, and the thing is though that I just also don't have the gear. you
Yeah.
know, I have like two raid pieces basically. I do have the shield, so I guess three. I see some of the top parsers are just like absolutely bissed out with Netherbane chest, cloth chest for spell power proc, and the mag
We love
trinket, and
that chest. Yeah.
yeah, I don't have any 200
I
spell
haven't
power
got that
weapon,
chest though. Yeah.
um, and like I told you earlier, I don't have
Mhm.
professions, I don't have PvP gear, like
So,
the arena gear. I don't have the bis consumes. So like obviously, I think people are going to be able to produce higher numbers than I am.
mhm.
Um, and I think me playing this way has been a way for me to kind of get an edge,
Mhm.
despite being at a significant disadvantage from the start, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how it trends because I mean you did have that one really good mag and then lost 200 DPS the next week and I'm curious to see like how the trend continues and then if more people try this out, see how it goes for them. To me, it seems like it's too early to like definitively say like, oh, this is like everybody's been playing TBC prop I wrong
I think
forever.
so wrong.
That
I'm being a
like
little bit
they
hyperbolic.
I mean, we got you gotta make the clip right for the
Gotta get the
intro.
clips. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. But yeah, realistically, I think it's too early to say. I do like that there's a new area of prop I being explored because when it's a game this old and we even already replayed it again recently with people, trying to min max and everything, it is interesting to have something new crop up. Like that doesn't always happen. So this is an interesting idea for sure. Definitely not like fully dismissing it. I just think it is maybe just an alternative way to reach the same end result for single target. But again, I don't know. Maybe way more people get in on this. We get a lot more logs coming in, like demonstrating this. But at the moment, every top log is just standard prop value play. So that to me, like kind of points towards this not being so good that it will fully replace just standard prop value play. But I don't know. I just want to
Yeah.
see like way more logs of it. And as
Yeah,
far
I
as I
agree. And
know,
that's
you're
like
the main person doing it.
I only have two resets of doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That first one
and
though was very promising. I mean, because that first one
mm,
you actually got like the 100 on mag. That has since
mm,
been beaten like pretty handily because Jay had like a crazy one this last week. I think he did like 1400
God
on
damn.
mag. And yeah, so that's all it is. It's just like we got to see more logs on it, Also, disappointingly, I saw that on WoW Sims, the only sim not being worked on right now is the Pally sim. So hopefully at some point we'll get that
Yeah,
working.
I mean
It's
that is one thing that is very annoying as well. Is that like obviously I'm kind of running with this theory.
mhm,
I have a theory that this is going to be the shit that
yeah,
and I have to take it into raid to prove that it's good
yeah,
because with the TBC sims you can't work on an APL, an action priority list.
mhm,
So in a sim where you can't adjust the rotation, it's a sim that tells you nothing. Um, so I've been using sim data a little bit, sparingly, trying to get some inferences on, if I played this way, I could, see a correlation between certain stats, and that will likely mean that I can produce higher numbers with the twisting component as well.
mhm,
So like if I notice that something is going to be a DPS upgrade for me with a one-hander with expertise on it, for example, it's going to be a heck of a big upgrade when you add twisting to it as well, because you can and because expertise gains a lot more value when you twist.
yeah.
Um, but
Uh,
but yeah, that
Also,
is unfortunate.
what are the number differences you've been seeing on like expertise? Like you mentioned the lower say ring. Like what kind of DPS difference are we looking at? Let's just say like for a standard prop high play, 200 spell power weapon kind of deal. What kind of DPS difference are you looking at there? Expertise versus, let's say, one of the hit rings, the spell power spell hit rings.
I haven't looked into too much with the spell power. I think that um if you don't have like if you have a caster weapon, expertise loses um quite a bit of value
Yeah,
in
for sure.
compared to spell hit. Um I actually think that spell hit is not as great of a stat either as people think. I think it's pretty good when you have exorcism in your rotation. Um, but apart from that, spell hit doesn't really do a lot. What I think
I
it's
mean,
the best for
yeah.
is the snap threat, like the on
Yeah,
pull
the
type of
consistency is definitely one of
consistency.
its
Yeah,
biggest strengths.
yeah,
Um, yeah, a lot of it's like consecration though, like making
Mhm.
consecration hit. But yeah, it definitely gains value for sure with EXO. I think this, let's see, next phase is probably our least EXO usage phase, I would say.
yeah,
Because like basically everything in Sunwell, basically everything in tier 6.
right.
Right now, lots of things in, Kara, but yeah. So yeah, next phase, I mean, yeah. That would be another thing that would be really nice to have, up to date sim for, is like testing all these different things because it will change phase by phase.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
even if you aren't twisting, but if you are using a non-spell power weapon,
Mm,
using melee hit is going to be a lot more impactful than using spell hit. Um,
yeah, for twisting.
Even if you're not twisting, just using
Even if you're
like
not
the
twisting.
non-spell power weapon, because so much of your percent damage is
Mm,
tied up into
yeah,
the melee attack because of Seal of the
yeah,
Righteous.
for
But
sure.
then you add the twisting component to it as well, and it adds another factor.
Let's see. I wanted to just look at it really quick. I'm trying to remember. I think you were around like 30% melee. Um
So here is
30, yeah,
my
31
melee.
point 31.81.
Yeah, but here, like my actual melee damage, the thing that is tied to my melee attacks is like, or is it like 58% of my damage?
Yeah, the seal of command as well, yeah.
Because you have
I mean, it
20,
is. I guess it
30.
is only like 5% seal of command.
Yeah, but you have Seal of the Righteousness as well, right?
Yeah, the seal of the wretch is proccing off of that too.
Mhm.
But yeah, what was it's like 15%, I think, right, for regular pally, 15 to 20, 10. It is crazy, like seeing the melee spike up so much, like an extra 20%. But again, that is all like if you're looking at threat perspective, that's all stuff that isn't benefiting from Righteous Fury. But
I might be in a weird position, but I kind of don't see the big deal with threat. Um, like I can get like if you're very defensively geared, that it could be an issue, but I feel like I haven't really noticed threat being much of an issue in this round.
yeah, it's mostly just I would say in like Kara, like very pumpy warriors that you're not salving. Like you're giving them might, they have no salve. Um and then like mag early on when we're, doing less spell power and more uncrushed stuff. Also,
Do
that's
you think
another.
so? Even with exorcism?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know. We had some major bumper because like a ret just hits a nice twist on the first Vuln phase, and we weren't doing the perma cage. We had just started trying to do that. It worked out okay-ish. It like
All right.
we I don't know, our guild's able to do it like consistently for a bit, and then there's like one mistake, it like all kind of falls apart. So we haven't cleanly been able to do the perma cage. But um yeah, some of those early pulls though, um we were also, trying to run no salve on a lot of people just for like max damage stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's generally not worth it to try to skip the salve if you have 3+ blessings.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, next phase though, I mean, what can we even exo next phase? It's like last phase of Solarian, I think.
The
And
the
oh, demon phase on
yeah.
Leotherius. Those might be the only two. It is a really bad phase for exo for sure. So that will definitely make the
Yeah,
threat a little bit
that's
more
it.
interesting.
Yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
it also just kind of depends on, DPS and your raise. And like all the threat drop stuff is like on global cooldown and like misdirect and everything. So it's like your DPS don't want to press those buttons like to maximize their parses. So like last TBC, the goal was to get to a point where like our warlocks didn't have to use a GCD on like Soul Shatter, for example. Like obviously just pressing
Right.
that button would completely solve any potential threat issue, but you tried to get to a point where like they don't even have to press that GCD, and it's kind of low value. Like it's a single GCD, it like completely solves the problem on its own. But yeah, I mean that's like kind of the pinnacle of, potentially what you're trying to reach with the threat.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'll have to see kind of once all the pumpers start getting their full biz and stuff like that. If things change, and especially as we start maybe incorporating a little bit of resist gear and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That okay. All right. Well, here is just going to be a case where I get more threat if I use a spell power weapon, and if my damage take a small hit for it because of how
Mhm.
I gear, then that's fine. Um, but yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that um, the melee focused spec is not a good like threat spec. It is worse threat, but I think it has higher damage potential.
Mm.
Here, look at my log here. I have 113 melee attacks and 0 crits.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, come on.
I was looking at that. I was like, this has to be bugged. Like, there's no way. Like, and then I like opened it up. I'm like, okay. I mean, this like checks out. I mean, 65 hits, 35 glancing blows, 1 blocked hit. Like, what? And then, like, I was like, this has to just be a bug. I mean, that's
Can't win.
valid, right? I mean, you have like 5% white crit probably, right? Maybe it'd be a little bit higher because of like scroll
Way
and
more. Like 15% or something like that.
15. Dude, like,
Because
no, you have a
have
twisting shaman, I guess, in your group. You don't
you
have
have
leader of the pack though,
shaman. You
dude.
have 3% from rets. You
That's
have
true. That's true.
I think I have like 8 or 9 something percent baseline. So it, my crit should be around 15%, but
Yeah. No, that is actually like insane. Maybe some math person can let us know what the probability of not a single crit on 113 melee swings is with 15%
nah,
crit.
don't do it.
I think you probably should stay away from any kind of gambling though, Riani.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely interested to see how this develops. It's always cool when new things pop up. Unfortunately for me, I don't think I'll ever be in a melee group, so I probably won't really ever go this route, but
I thought you were in the Red Pally group.
so okay, so we're in the healer group. We had a holy pally giving us sank. He got banned for buying gold. And then one of our warriors decided to play their warrior in a different raid, and now they're playing like a rep pally in this raid, so we have 2 rep pallies. And then he got added to my healer group. Because that's just how it worked out, I guess. And so technically we have Wind Fury. We don't have any of the other buffs. We have like literally Wind Fury and Sank. That's it. It's kind of a bad group.
Right,
it's
right.
very scuffed. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could be worth it, even with only the Wind Fury and no other buffs. But
yeah, I'll continue my trials for sure.
Please continue your research.
Yeah.
If anybody can donate gold to fund his research project, we would love to see that.
So, send me a blacksmithing package,
Riani is going to put out a bounty. He's going to give 1,000 gold to the first person who can get a 100 parse with this one-hand seal twisting strat for all of the current bosses.
That's gonna be me tomorrow.
Yes, that's gonna be Riani tomorrow. So he's gonna give himself 1,000 gold, easy.
Hell yeah. Speaking of your shaman getting or
Pally, holy
pally,
pally, yeah.
Getting banned for gold buying. I can say that I have never been as tempted in my life to buy gold. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not stupid. No shame. No shade to your guilty, but I'm so tempted, man. It's so funny how this whole GDKP thing has been a thing too that's supposed to avert gold buying. And then here I am. I'm just like, I've never wanted to buy gold more in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, God, I hate the GDKP thing so much. I know it's like a very divisive issue, but for me personally, that's how I farm my gold. I tank or GDKP raid. That's how I get my gold. And then I use that gold to buy my consumes on my main. This TBC, there's no GDKP. I'm not playing an alt. Why would I play an alt? I'm not going to play a SR alt. Like, right. We're not doing that. So, I mean, for me personally, it's made me play one less character this expansion. That's me personally. I know there's lots of other people in the same boat, but SR raids suck. They're terrible. Like I I did them last TBC. They're an awful experience. I never want to do them again. If I'm pugging, it's GJQP or I'm not pugging. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no desire to play a second character.
Yeah. I mean, if GJQP is in, alts are very interesting to me. If there's no GJQP, no chance I'm bugging.
Yep.
All right. Feel like we pretty much covered everything there. Anything else you wanted to talk about with the one hand twisting?
No, I mean, I think it's worth like mentioning kind of the philosophy behind it a little bit. It's you don't really change any of your gearing to be necessarily more like a red pally. You still prioritize spell power because all of your abilities still scale with spell power. So you buff both Seal of Command and Seal of Righteousness with spell power. So you still continue down that route. However, it does change your stat priority a little bit to where expertise is just so much better than everything else if you're running that build. Melee hit is better than spell hit. And um, and you get a little bit more utility from things such as agility and strength, meaning that items like the leather glove or leather gloves and legs with expertise on them become really, really strong options for you. You still want to run 2 set at least from the tier. So you buff the Seal of Righteousness damage by 10%. Or it's 15? 10, 15? I think 10%.
Sorry, you said which one?
The 2 sets.
Oh, 10%, yeah.
10%, yeah. And it can be a good idea to PvP because a lot of the pieces won't have defense on them, so that you want. So having some resilience in your gearing is definitely very good.
It's worth mentioning too. Resilience is a little bit more efficient at getting purely on crit, so that's the reasoning for that. Also, with the PvP gear, you get the 2 set bonus, so you can get like the bonus 35 resolve, and that just kind of puts it through the roof. Like just having 2 pieces gives you so much crit reduction.
Yeah, indeed. Also, one thing to mention as well is that you don't have to be locked into a one-hander like this the one-hand twisting playstyle either. You can swap between weapons mid-fight. The 4 mag here, for example, as you see, I start with the spell power weapon, and I change over once mag starts, and there'll be a lot of fights where you'll have periods of 2 targets, 3 targets, whatever, where it's going to be more efficient to run with the spell power weapon. You might wonder which Libram we want to use when we're running this. Obviously, if you want to go crit or crush cap still, you want to run with the normal Libram from Justice Point. But if you are purely looking for damage, the Libram from Blood Furnace, the first boss, is going to be very, very, very slightly better than the Consecration Libram, but it's mostly if you are running Vengeance. If you're not running Vengeance, you really don't care about crit that much. But if you are running Vengeance, you want to get the most out of the spec, then getting that BF Libram is a good idea. But in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about a potentially just a few DPS higher than if you were to run the Consecration glyph, and the Consecration one is obviously gonna be better if you ever have more than 1 target in the fight as well.
One thing I wanted to mention too while we're looking at this is Warcraft logs snapshots like your gear at the start of a fight. So
Yeah.
when it says here that Rihanna used Blade of the Archmage, that's just because the poll started with him using that. Like he was switching to, I think you're using Fool's Bane. Is that what you're using?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he is using multiple weapons in this, but when you do look at logs, it is just going to show what they had equipped the moment the boss was pulled. So don't get confused by that. Uh, you had Blade of the Archmage on phase 1, and then you had Fool's Bane after that. All
Yeah.
right.
One thing to
Yeah.
mention as well, you can do the same thing by just throwing on a two-hander if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
There is a better two-hand twist, which is basically just playing ret, where you run all of the things that a ret would, but you make sure you get crit cap and then you pump like that. But you can get slightly more damage out by running a two-hander with this build as well. But obviously that's running a little bit more of a risk because you can't block.
Yep. Yeah, last TBC, there was a guy that did the two-hand thing in tier 6, and it really opened up our eyes. He doubled every prop eyes damage. He didn't even press consecration. All he did was seal of command, seal of blood. That was it.
Which
Very
is
very
a
simple
little
rotation.
bit, I think, stupid by him.
I mean,
could
I'm
have been.
sure a lot got left on the table. It's just he was the only one that did it. He did double everybody else's damage, and that was it.
Oh man.
Like I think once you get that style into like more people's hands, it will definitely get like further optimized. And instead of doing double people's damage on Terran Gorfine, maybe it's triple, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
yeah.
I know there is one person that does it in Karasan right now, who's snagging a few hundreds, but
Couple
it's
hundreds.
running two healers. Obviously a normal group is not going to run two healers. I mean, maybe a normal group is, but like an above average group is not running two healers. So
Yeah. Our group has been, just because we have two people who want to heal, and that's like what they want to play. And we're not,
damn,
we're not going for
you
any
guys need a tank.
records. I don't know, maybe, depending on how gold situation goes.
Right. If you get caught buying gold.
Yeah. Might have to at this rate. All right. All good on that?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. So one question I get a lot is, why did I get Justicar Parse? So I wanted to just go over Prot Justicar Parse requirements really quick, just so people are aware kind of what causes you to get that Justicar Parse and what gives you the prop parse. So from Warcraft Logs, this is for Anniversary, their parsing rules. Prot is the tank spec for Pallies, requires majority talent points in Prot tree. So that's your first requirement. This is also for Justicar, also majority points in Prot tree. So these are the same. But this is just what's going to differentiate you from getting a ret parse as a tank. So majority points Prot, that's the main thing right there. And then there's also additional tank requirements. So for Pally, you need to take the most melees from the boss, or at least 70% of the melees. Righteous Fury detection is like not good for logs. So Righteous Fury not required. But yeah, that's to get a prop parse. There are some fight specific things, but typically most points in Prot and 70% of the melees received. Those are kind of the two things you're looking for. If you got a Justicar Parse, you didn't hit that mark. And then there are some specific things like Shade of Iran, most Frostbolt / Fireballs from the boss, or just the regular, 70% melee thing. And then if you get into like warrior druid stuff, there's some requirements on defensive stance and bear form and stuff like that. But yeah, for Pally, that's pretty much what it boils down to: 70% melees and most points Prot. As each phase goes on, there may be some slight boss by boss adjustments on this, but in general, that's what you're looking for. All right, let's talk just like basic tech now. So things that are just kind of, you want to do them all the time. So for consumes, we're talking things like Blood Thistle for Blood Elf. That's a 10 spell power buff, lasts 10 minutes. Just free spell power.
Bias.
Generally buy it pretty cheap. It's pretty nice. But the human pallies, they get the expertise, which honestly is just kind of better. This is our way to get a little bit back. But human pally is always just going to be better than Blood Elf pally for parsing. And then you have your Scourgebane Drought and Infusion. I think those are the two names. I always forget which one's the attack power, which one's the spell power. But so quest in Ghostlands repeatable, gives you a undead and demon specifically. I think it's demon also. It's at least undead. Attack power and spell power buff. Very minor, but that's another parsing thing. Golden Mist Special Brew, 70 HP. When you're using these, higher damage sets, you're scaling back the survivability a little bit. 70 HP could save you. There's times, you see that overkill and it's, 70 or less. You're like, could have had that Golden Mist Special Brew. And scrolls, obviously, Scroll of Agility, Scroll of Strength. Scroll of Agility gets crazy later. In Sunwell, I remember it being like 15 or 20 gold each for Scroll of Agility 5.
Yep.
I
less
think
people that are out, in the world getting them to drop, that's gonna have, obviously.
And more people using them. Like by the time you get to Sunwell, people are wiping a lot, and every wipe, you're just deleting. If your whole raid's like using those, you're deleting so many Scroll of Agility 5s from the game every single wipe. And it adds up quick. The prices get kind of crazy. So that would be a good one, I would say, to be stocking up now. I can't imagine they would ever be cheaper than they are now. It theoretically should just
I am very
get more expensive the
disappointed
entire
myself
expansion.
that I didn't buy out like as many as I could when they were like 2-3 gold.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wasn't disappointed in myself. I just literally didn't have the gold for it. I'm like, early TBC, I'm like sitting there with 50 gold, and I'm like, God, I see all these things that are gonna go up, 2x, 4x, 10x in price, and I just literally can't even buy them. I can't capitalize on this. I'm just seeing all this value going away. It's unfortunate, but if you're somebody with gold, I would definitely look to be investing in some of these consumes that are for sure gonna be getting more expensive. Dark runes also. I mean, dark runes right now are probably the cheapest they'll ever be. Kind of depends though. On my server, they're fluctuating like crazy. They can be anywhere from 7 gold to 15 gold, depending on what day you're looking at it and what time.
Yeah, I think, now in the beginning, people are kind of done with a lot of their gearing stuff. They're still realizing that you need a lot of goals or farming gold, stuff like that. But you're definitely gonna get to a point where the people running Skolo is gonna dry up, more than it is now. And so I think they're gonna go up in price.
Yeah, fewer people running Skolo and 25 man raids that, I mean, I don't want to say necessarily requires them, but if you want to come in max and really push things as far as you can, like people are going to want dark runes for sure. They're not like overhealing everything. Let's see what else. Oil of Immolation, dude. Oil of Immolation. It's a slippery slope. I got into the Oil of Immolation last TBC, and It's a tough one because it's very expensive and you need like a couple hundred of them every raid, and they stack to 5. So
Yeah.
you literally have to have somebody in your raid that will be a mule for you and just hold your oil of immolations for you. It's tough because like the first time you have a really good parse where you're like, 8 DPS or whatever short of getting a rank 1, you're like, man, if I had oil of immolation, that would have been a 100.
Yeah.
It's really
All
hard
been
to
there.
come back from that.
Yeah.
Last TBC, I had a short stint in phase 2 where I was an oil of immolation addict and I was bringing a few hundred of them to each raid. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. I mean,
No.
if you want to drop one on like Morose or something each week, or 2, whatever, on Morose each week, like that's not a bad idea. But I'm telling you, as a recovering oil of immolation addict, do not fall into the trap of just 400 oil of immolation every raid, using it on
You're out here
everything.
putting in good work, getting people
Yeah.
rehabilitated,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah.
I only really use it on 2 fights, which is Morose and on Mag for
Phase 1.
the phase 1, yeah. Oh, and obviously Mulgar as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, like they're quite inexpensive. And if you are on 5 targets, which you are on Morose and on Magtheridon, it's it's 1,250 damage for 1 Oil of Immolation if you uh for like 40 silver. That's pretty good value.
Yeah.
It's pretty good value. So it is worth keeping in mind. It's worth having them in your bag. Just don't be like subtle. If you ever start to chug a few too many oils and you're starting to get that little, you know, you just needed to remind yourself to not be subtle. It's not a good path to go down.
Do we have a helpline for this? Can we set one up? If somebody gets addicted to
one
oil of immolation, we can they can call up
one eight
and talk to
hundred.
somebody, talk them out of it. Yeah, man. It's
We'll make sure to set it up. Yeah.
yeah, but like Rarity said, target count and fight length, if those two things make sense for like popping oils, then go for it. Otherwise, it is a slippery slope. If we're talking about using it on like a 3-minute single target boss, that's not a place you want to get to, really.
Right.
It's tough to come back from that.
Yeah. So in case people don't know what the heck we're talking about, oil of immolation is this thing that you craft with alchemy, and it's from vanilla, and they don't share cooldown with anything else in the game. They don't have a cooldown either themselves. You can just keep chugging them, and it's like a 5-second cooldown, but the duration is 15 seconds. So if you just pop one every 15 seconds, you can do that, and it deals damage. The single target damage is like, is it like 17 DPS or something like that?
It's
That
around
it
there.
adds?
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
remember the exact, but it's not a lot.
Right. But then if you add a couple of targets, because it deals AoE around you like an immolation aura um, type of thing, and then it becomes quite good because you can pop them without really sacrificing anything else, and it's not on GCD. It is just free damage, but pace yourself, man.
Free,
A
yeah.
little, a little, a little brewski on a Friday and a Saturday, you're fine. But if you start
Mhm.
popping, a morning brewski, we're starting to become a problem. Uh,
I mean, it can get to a point where, you're logging on, it's not even raid time, you just need that fix. You run outside Orgrimmar, you pop an oil of immolation, you just, kill some
kill a few
boars with
boars,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, it's tough to recover from it. You never really are the same after. an Oil of Immolation addiction.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So one
Yeah.
thing I mentioned it briefly earlier, but now with the fights being so short, a lot of fights are like sub 30 seconds, which is slightly annoying for Bloodlust,
It's
because
so annoying.
Bloodlust only resets if it's the fight is over 30 seconds.
Blizzard,
Um,
please.
yeah, I know. But one thing to keep in mind is that trinkets generally can't be used together. So if you have two unused trinkets, you use one, and then the other one, if it's classified as a certain kind of trinket, that other trinket will go on cooldown while your current one is active. For most fights, that's not really an issue. You can usually just chain them back to back, and you will have full uptime on one during Lust and your cooldowns, and then you'll have 50% uptime on the second one when with Lust and everything else. But if the fight is super short, like it is on Mulgore, like it is on Morose, like it is on Maiden, Ilhoof, etc., then you might only have 25 seconds of the fight. And then you will want to either have one active trinket and one passive trinket that might proc, or just have raw stats on them, like the Naxxramas trinket that gives spell power against undead targets. Or what gives even more value is using a healer trinket, because healer trinkets are classified in their own category, so they don't put other trinkets on cooldown, and it doesn't get put on cooldown if you use it with your offensive trinket. So you can stack up if you have one spell power badge trinket and one healer badge trinket, you can use them at the same time, and the healer trinket will then give you 125 spell power or something like that, with the baseline plus the 99 from the active, which is a huge gain on a short fight, and something that I've personally not been able to get myself to actually get the trinket, which I know I need to do because it's going to be huge on Mulgore. But yeah, it is huge. So
The trinket,
six last.
Yeah, just to mention the trinket, it's Essence of the Martyr from badges. That's
That
kind of
is
the
the
main one.
trinket.
There are
Yeah.
other ones you can get, but that's kind of the main one.
Yeah. So if you're like me who haven't gotten badges, or you just don't want to get badges, but you still want to get most of the utility, but only a slightly worse value, you have a trinket in Nagrand from the little consortium camp. I think it's when you kill one of the bosses over by the big pyramid, the glass pyramid. He has a healer or trinket that you get from the quest completion that gives, I think it's like 20 or 25 spell power less in total. Not a super big deal, of course, but if you can't get the badges, then you would just get that. Oshgun Relic, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Oshugun, I think that's the one.
Oshugun,
yeah. Also, if you happened to do Nax in vanilla, it's one of the saffron ones. I want to say Restrained Essence. I could have the wrong name. Saph's got a few trinkets, but whatever the healing trinket from Saph was. Or Eye of the Dead, was that the one? I don't know.
Now,
But from if you have a healing trigger from Naxxramas, also usable.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would be the same situation with the Sul'Gurub quest trinket, but that one has a little bit too much spell power to be considered a healing trinket, even if it does have like a 400 healing power coefficient on it.
Yeah, that is a bummer. Um, yeah, I think those are the main healing ones I can think of, though. I don't think if there's anything else. I don't think there is. Yeah, so I mean, beyond that, the Flame Wrath polearm,
Oh yeah,
very, very
big
good.
one.
Morose is kind of the biggest example of it.
Mm.
But
Not the only
basically,
example, but
yeah.
the biggest one
I
for
mean,
sure.
technically, you would want to have it on every single boss, like pre-popped.
Yeah.
It's just Morose gives you crazy value on it because it's a very short fight with lots of things attacking. Uh, but basically, it gives you super thorns. Scales 1-to-1 with spell power. I mean, you'll see some insane hits from this thing, like 1800 Flame Wrath hits. And it's like a fight like Morose where if you're in a really good group, I mean, you potentially have a less than 20-second kill time. The buff lasts 15 seconds. Basically, you
Yeah.
proc it, you leave some trash up, you change to the polearm, you proc it, you immediately pull Morose and swap to your regular spell power weapon and shield, and you just pump. You very likely
Yeah.
will be number one damage in your group on the fight, but
Yep.
it
It's an interesting
it's a
one for
lot.
sure because it's a it's a thing that snapshots as a buff so that you don't have to have it equipped to still have the buff, but the spell power coefficient that you get with the from the buff scales dynamically. So if you proc it, you swap to your normal weapon, you get the spell power from your weapon on the modifier. You use your trinkets, both trinkets, the spell power and the healing trinket. Um, and then you maybe use a little destruction pot, and then maybe you get a little proc from the Nightbane cloth chest as well. You maybe get the shaman to put down a spell power totem. It gets really high really quick, and it's a really really powerful item. I think the biggest examples where you might want to use it is obviously Morose, but you can use it pretty effectively on Atsuman and on Ilhoof as well, because they're very easy to proc there. Um, in the room, kind of upstairs, where you have all of the trash before Morose, there are 3 ads that are non-elites that just stand around, and they can be solo pulled. So just before the fight, everyone can drink up, eat up, get your consumes, whatever else. You just run away. You put on Seal of the Crusader so that you attack quicker and attack for less, because it's not always that you get the proc um, before the ad
It
dies.
can take a little bit. Yeah.
It can take a while. It can take a while. Um, but on so you use those ads on Morose and on Atsuman if you want to use it there. I've used it once. I haven't really bothered since. And then on Ilhoof, if you have a warlock in your group, they can just enslave one of the demons, and then they can just release it before the fight. You can proc it, and then you go. Um, Obviously, there's other CC you can use, but I think that's the easiest one, because then you
Mhm.
get put out of combat as well. So you can pull it, kill it. The demon is enslaved. You're out of combat. You can drink up, you do whatever, and then you release it.
Yeah. Also
There's a little bit of
on that
yeah,
same thing, you're also pre-stacking your vengeance when you're doing that too. If you're running
yeah,
vengeance spec, so it's like kind of a double whammy. It's a lot more damage if you're going in with like the flame wrath buff and a triple stack of vengeance.
yeah, indeed. So remember, if you are that person bringing seal of or if you're bringing the 3% crits from improved Seal of Crusader, make sure to use Crusader on the mob as well that you're trying to stack on, so that you have that extra crit chance to get your vengeance as well before the fight.
Good comms.
It's a little bit of a hassle to get the Flame Wrath. It took me quite a while. I don't know if you did this during Cataclysm, but did you do Trinket pre-pull tech in Kara or
Mm,
yeah, in Kata?
no, I was pre-checked out by the time everybody was doing that, and I was like, I can't be bothered. And then
Mm-hmm.
it evolved too into like the warlocks going to Northrend to the seals or penguins or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
it was too much, dude. Like 5 minute pull timers, like no.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know it well. But part of the as a strength user, if you were doing the trinket shenanigans before fight, was to get a cloth helmet, epic cloth helmet from Ambassador in BFD. Now that happens to be the same boss that you get the polearm from that we're talking about, the flame wrath, flame wreath. Um, and I actually did get the cloth helmet on my pally before I actually got the polearm, and the cloth helmet has like a 1% drop chance, something like that. So I was playing around with a little bit with the helmet to see if I could get any type of pre-procking uh, of certain trinkets and stuff like that, but I haven't found anything yet. So we'll see. Maybe that tech will come back if I find something.
While we're on that topic, I'll just throw out for next phase, with the Tome of Fiery Redemption. This will become a big like pre-pull thing. Is you put on Tome of Fiery Redemption, you spam Sense Undead. It just is a 0 mana spell you can cast. You proc Tome of Fiery Redemption, you switch to a different trinket, the buff stays on you, and you just started the pull with like 300 more spell power and effectively have like 3 trinkets for the pull. So that's a pretty sick one, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
sort of becomes part of your go-to. Generally, you probably don't want to, delay your raid every single boss pull for you to like proc that perfectly, but it
I
is
think I will.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Rihanna will, but
Still counts.
uh it is just a good thing in general. Like you have a pull timer up, you right before the boss, you just see if you get a proc. If you do, great. If you don't, whatever. And yeah, it's just free spell power. So that'll definitely become kind of a staple of all this pre-pull stuff.
Yep. With then the flame wrath as well, another 300
Hmm.
damage per thorns.
Sheesh. Pretty nice. Um So let's see. As far as like potions go, I mean, if you have Wind Fury, Haste Pot is great, like single target fight. Destro Pot, great on AoE. Like Rihanna was mentioning on
Yep.
Morose, like crazy value there. With the Flame Wrath and everything. Sometimes Iron Shield Pot will actually be your highest damage pot. It depends like how the survivability factors into everything. If you're able to change like an entire piece of gear or entire like couple pieces of gear from being like more defensive oriented to very aggressive, then that's going to be a way bigger buff to your damage than, just having a short duration on like haste buff or destro pot, whatever. If because
Yep.
it is a lot of armor you get from the iron shield pot. So if that armor is a difference maker and you like surviving and equipping just better offensive gear, iron shield pot could be your best damage pot. It's gonna really vary on that one though.
I think especially if you are, entertaining the thought of using either cloth or leather gear in your gear.
Yeah, it will offset that, which is nice. Um, and then sometimes mana pot. I mean, there are certain fights where you just take no damage and like 80+% of your mana return is from spiritual attunement. if
Yeah.
you're not taking any damage, like you're probably gonna So those are fights where Mana Pod and Dark Rune become very important for just doing more damage. Um, Mag's actually kind of a
Okay.
weird one. Like now that we're trying the perma cage thing, because
Right.
like
Yeah. If
he
you don't
he
get hit,
just
you don't
he
get
just
mana. Yeah.
doesn't hit you anymore. Like he hits you maybe once between cages, and yeah.
That could actually be a case for the melee spec.
No, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
And swapping over
is
to
it's
less consecrations.
yeah, it's just less mana intensive because it is it is interesting to get used to for sure. It's a very different uh, game with not having a lot of spiritual attunement mana coming in. One thing too is like, I mean, in a world where the cages are perfect, you don't need Uncrush because you're getting hit one time between cages. You just go
Yeah.
full like aggressive. I mean, really you go two-hander, right? Like, and you swap back to one-hander like right before a melee happens, or you just take the one melee. Like you can probably live it, right? I think
I think
you
yeah.
should
I
be able to
think
live a
if you
single melee.
I think so. Yeah. I we'll see. Let's hope. Let's hope Flexi. My officer is not in the chat anymore. But I think I will try to go to hander this upcoming reset and see how shit
Uh-oh,
this reset to see
caught.
how that works. I think if you do need to one hand um like swap to a one hander, it's not really worth it because you reset your swing timer
Yeah.
when you swap melee to your weapon. So it can be worth it, and I did try a little bit to swap to a two-hander
Mhm.
um, during like the storm and then swapping back, and it didn't really
Mhm.
feel worth it. Probably why my last mag was so bad. Um,
One thing to throw in there with this two-hand discussion too. Imp lay on hands. So this is an insane defensive buff.
mm,
30% more armor for 2 minutes. Obviously,
yeah,
if you're getting that too, is a 40-minute cooldown on lay on hands. But obviously that's pretty limiting. You're gonna get it for one pull. So hopefully you get it done in that pull. But if you have that buff, I mean, it would probably be pretty chill to do that two-hander. And I did
yeah.
see, I can't remember whose log it was, might have been Jay's. One of the logs I looked at recently did have that imp lay on hands, and I was like, yeah, this is the next level where you go imp lay on hands, you two hands. Like the mat kills are getting so quick now. Like I think there's some under 2 minutes. That's including like ad phase. Um, but yeah, you could have literally 100% uptime on the mag part of the fight, even with a slower kill time than that. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I think that's the next step. We're gonna see some two hand. You just do the MPLOH, so it's a little safer. You two hand the whole time. We're gonna see. I'm gonna say we see some 3K plus prop ad parses in the near future from people doing that.
Could be. I need to get my ret set up a little bit.
Yeah.
But one thing to note on that is that even if you aren't doing imp play on hands for like mag and like depleting all your mana, like we're running, you're running two, three healers, whatever, and it's getting pretty rough when you have the perma clicking because the perma clicking makes them, the whole rate kind of take damage. Um, and so if mana is a little bit of an issue, maybe you might not want to do that. But what you can do, for example, if you want to be a little bit greedy on Gruul, for example, and for fights in the future, but Gruul I think is the biggest example right now, is you can just before the fight have the Paladin enhance you drink up, and then you go.
True. True.
That way you have really high uptime on the armor buff, and then you can if you want to use a armor pot on the back half of the fight if your fight is longer than 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thinking back now, I believe that is actually what the log I was looking at did, because they had, I think, like 70% uptime on in play, and it was like from the beginning.
Right.
So that is probably
Yeah.
what they did. I hadn't even thought
Yeah.
about that angle. That's even better. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. Another little cheesy thing you can do as well, especially this is more relevant for Karazhan, I think, because you're probably always going to have a Resto Shaman in your raid. But if you want to one heal in Karazhan and make it slightly easier, you can, as a elemental enhancement, whatever you have in your raid, go into Resto Spec before the fight, put up Earth Shield in the tank, and then spec back.
Oh, you keep
That way
it?
you get to keep the Earth Shield on the tank.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All
It's quite
right.
significant, healing as well.
And I mean, the fights are so short, you might not even use all the charges.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Good tech. Good tech.
When it comes to other type of tech, I have mentioned it slightly earlier as well. But there is a chest from Nightbane that has obviously has its stats with stamina, intellect, I think has spirit on it as well, and spell power. Does it have spell crit too? I think it might. But
I can't remember.
Yeah, but the big thing is that it has a proc effect, and it has a chance on hit. It has a pretty high chance on hit too, so it's pretty likely to proc early in the fight. That gives you, I think it's 115 spell power, or 150 maybe.
It's around there, but yeah, it's like 50% proc chance or something high.
Mm-hmm.
Like it should proc like pretty fast.
Yeah, which is really insane if you are fighting a short fight, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to get
fights.
it yet.
Karazhan fights are like insane for it. I mean, something like Moreau's,
High
like,
King Mulgar as well, specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. This phase is like the most useful it ever will be. I don't think we really have any fights this short ever again. But yeah, this
Maybe
phase,
Solomon, but yeah.
Yeah, this phase you have so many fights that are 30 seconds or fewer, and it's I don't have it yet, but man, I'm a little bit jealous every time I look at a log, see somebody pumping with the dress,
Yeah, gotta look good while you're pumping.
You gotta. Let's see for Mulgar. I mean, Mulgar parsing basically just AOE as much as you can. That's all it is. All the damage will count, like regardless of if the stuff dies or not. By the time Mulgar does, so you just try to put out as many numbers on as many things as you can, but also you want Mulgar to die as quickly as possible. Good kill time is gonna be huge. And then
one tip that I actually have that I haven't used myself, so obviously I'm shooting myself in the foot here a little bit, but a big when it takes a long time to get to the boss, to start your first few attacks, that is normally not that big of a deal. But when the fight is 20 seconds long, not connecting to the target in 2 seconds is 10% of the fight where you are not using any spells on the boss.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So, I need to skill my engineering a little bit, but it's very, very, very valid to use the Nitro boost or boots, the cloth ones with 44 spell power on them on that fight, because higher spell power than anything you're gonna get, from any other source of gear, which is great when it's all about AoE. But also, two, you can gap close extremely, extremely quickly, making sure that you are attacking right away. And not only that, you also get in range of the other targets that you want to AoE on earlier, meaning that you don't have the scenario where you use a sapper and you don't hit all the targets that you want. It's probably a good idea to delay the sapper anyway until the demon dog thing has spawned. So you use your exorcism on that, and then use your sapper so that you get full value on the sapper and everything. And obviously, any type of spell power that you can get is insane. Whether it's Destro Pot, the cloth chest that we talked about, really, really valuable in that fight, and that's definitely a fight where you would not, be a melee paladin, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is interesting. There's no backfire, right, on this version of
No.
NG boots? Okay. Yeah. I need to craft mine, honestly. That is a good point. Yeah. Maybe, I mean, a fight as short as Mulgar, like the whole raid probably just boots in, right? Like,
Yeah, every melee I think should use
yeah.
boots on that fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's time. It's time. It's
I
gonna.
think as well. I haven't played around with it, but I think you can just unequip it as well. Like you do in challenge modes where you, or used to at least, where you have them equipped, you use them and swap to your normal boots, and you still have the natural boots at the start.
Oh, okay. Yeah, need to look at that. That would make it really, really good. I mean, it's already like kind of fine to begin with because it does have a ton of spell power and it's a very short fight, but
yeah,
that would make it even more interesting for other stuff too, for sure.
I think especially the Mulgar and Gruul, getting that positioning done quicker is it's very good.
Definitely valuable. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. You got any more like boss specific tech stuff you want to talk about?
I think it's worth mentioning as well that if you aren't keeping Magtheridon permastunned, it's worth keeping in mind that the boss takes more damage when it is stunned. So if you were sitting, like you're thinking about offloading your exorcism, for example, and the boss is about to get stunned, just hold that one for like a second or two. It's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, literally double damage. So, like pressing it once is the same as pressing it twice. So, unless you're going an entire like more than 15 seconds, it should always just be worth it to hold it, right? Because a single press is worth 2 presses. Yeah.
But apart from that, I don't really think so. I think there's a bunch of Kara stuff, I guess, but I mean, we could probably sit here all day if we if we went through specific niche tips on in Kara as well. But I think 25 minutes is what most people should care about when it comes to parsing.
I think we most like a lot of it too is just all that miscellaneous kind of general stuff. If you're kind of applying that to everything, it's gonna boost your parses across the board for sure.
Yeah.
All right. We've got some listener questions then. If you guys in chat right now also have questions, now would be the time to ask them. But we do have some pre-asked questions that we'll be going through, and then while we're doing that, if you guys want to post your own questions, then we will get to those after the other ones. Let me just.
Yeah, we do have a few if we scroll up in the chat as well, so we can keep that in mind for later.
All right. So yeah, these are the questions I got pre-prepared. So our good friend Hando says
Miss you, Hando.
it it's been a while. We gotta get the whole crew back together again. Um, if Warcraft Logs were to change parsing for tanks to avoid pure DPS, taking the top tank parse spots, like we saw things in BT last TBC, would both of you make? How would both of you make those changes to be fair and fun for tanks? Where is the line between DPS and tank drawn for logs? So I think there should probably just be another category. There should be a third category. So there's like Prot category, Justicar. I'm just throwing out the word Templar. I think that like fits, but Templar parse would be a two-hand tanking parse. Um,
Yeah.
and the thing that gets tricky though is because we mentioned earlier that your gear gets snapshotted at the time of the pull. So it won't actually show that you're using the two-hander. So you have to come up with like more creative ways to detect that. One thing, one obvious
I
one
think
would
just an
be
amount of blocks you have.
yeah. I think you need to have a that's kind of a tough one too. Because you could just get unlucky. And like maybe you are one hand shield for part of the fight, your two hand for part of it. It block is definitely one to look at for sure. It could also be a combination of multiple things. Block is a great one though. Um Holy Shield. You could look at like Holy Shield uptime probably. I mean, obviously you're not gonna use Holy Shield on elemental melee attacks, so but that's only a few fights. It's like, Hydros and um like Illidan elementals. But yeah, blocks, Holy Shield uptime, Seal of Blood you could look at. Like Prop A isn't gonna use Seal of Blood outside of two-handing. So I don't
Mm.
know specifically, but I would look at probably those three things for kind of determining it.
Yeah, I think that could be a route. I I don't know it's totally necessary. I think if it does have the potential to get a little bit out of hand, um, for sure. But we'll see what happens. I think for now it's fine not having a another category, but we could get a situation like we did in BT where it just gets completely out of hand, and there is no way to get a rank one anymore because you have to two hand, you have to go ret, um, essentially, to even compete, and then
Yeah.
have to start stealing your gear from all your fellow uh, warriors and reds and all that,
Yeah, I think
which we
right
will, of course.
now, of course, yeah. I think right now it isn't as big of a deal just because people haven't like accumulated the gear yet, like most people. There's very few
Yeah,
people who have like put in the time to like try and get the gear.
it
I
will be
mean,
mostly people that already play red that then
yeah, people
you
who
know
have like a ret
yeah,
main spec or off spec that already have it all. But
yeah.
like for me, I just got a Gorehal. I was PvPing with like the blue axe from Old Hillsbrad, the resilience one. So
Yeah.
and I don't have any other like red gear really, so it's not something I really tried to do. But as the expansion goes on, I'm gonna slowly accumulate a bunch of gear, and eventually we're gonna do some of that stuff. But for me, it's
Yeah.
just not a high priority. It's like eventually I'll have some gear to try it out, but I think a lot of people are probably in a similar boat. Um, so, 'cause, like last CBC, it was, I think, literally just one guy that did it. He blew everybody's parses out of the water, but um, and it was like so late in BT Hajal too. Like Sunwell came out very quickly after that, and then you couldn't really do that stuff anymore. So it didn't really catch on the same way. But knowing that from the start this time, I think it'll become a bigger issue like as the expansion goes on. But Yeah, it at the moment it's not really that big of a deal, but I see the top spots eventually just all being two-hand if there's not a separate category. So next, how has the tank, this is from Blackbart, how has the tank meta shifted for you between this go around versus the last TBC Classic? Whether it's gearing options, player quality, less tanks. I mean, for me, the biggest change was I just started as a tank this time instead of as a rogue and playing catch up and like learning a new class and everything. But it's honestly one of the weird things for me going into this expansion was how many people thought prop value sucked. Like leading up to TBC anniversary, I just had so many people in my chat. They're like, "Wait, I heard like you can only play Druid in this expansion. Prop value is terrible. Like all this stuff." And I was like, did nobody play like the last TBC? Like,
It's
I
all
mean,
kungen
yeah,
propaganda.
it's like
Oh
we
my
we
kungen.
just went through this like a few years ago. And like probably kind of owned. I mean, I know like the high end like super meta players they love their feral druids, but we're talking like such a small difference. We're not talking about like trying to play a prop ally or a prop warrior at Cata kind of deal where this is just
Right,
a
right.
huge drop off the blood decay. We're talking about like very, very minor differences here where it's like, I mean, obviously also the prop A just excels at AoE threat, and there's certain fights that Druid can't even tank like Illidan. Unless they
Right.
have the 100%
The mean
dodge.
dodge spec.
Yeah. I don't think they can really hold threat with that. They also need ZA gear, I think, to make that work. But yeah. But yeah, for me, that's been the weirdest thing is that like the amount of prop value hate I've seen. Like after we had it, we already went through like this whole process before it showed like prop value can solo tank everything in the game, basically. Even Brutalis. I mean, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where all that came from. That's been a little bit odd though.
I get it, right? I mean, like, uh, people are so concerned about min maxing and like squeezing out every type of benefit that you can get, even if they don't like actually play the game that way.
Yeah,
People want to be prepared to be the best version of themselves, but um, the um, there are scenarios where Druid is better. There are scenarios where Paladin is better. That's just how it is. And I heard a little bit of the Paladin propaganda as well, but I heard some stat that the second most read class guide on Wowhead was the Prot Paladin, which it never is a tank, but now it is. So people like to play it for sure.
there you go. Yeah,
I think people are a lot better. Like to the second part of that question. Um,
it's kind of hard
Now
not
I
to be
think
right.
the
Now that like so
mm,
recently, like we played through this stuff, like a lot of the people playing
yeah,
will have just like played it 5 years ago, 4 years ago too. So like you're just
yeah.
gonna be better at something you already did, right?
I mean, just there's so much more information as
Hmm.
well. Um, like people thought that we had a lot of information last time around, but it's over the course of an expansion, you get so much more. I can just think of like all of the theory crafting that's been done for like Cata and MoP, and it's like if I knew it from the start, like oh my
Yeah.
god, what a difference that would have been.
We would
But
have started with
uh,
the mastery and the cat and kata would have been hastened
yeah,
right out the gate. Yeah.
let's not talk about bloody K Mastery.
And then other parts of the question, heard several of the more casual prop allies refer to spell power in general as a meme. What sweet spots do you look to aim for in spell power? When do you start ignoring / pumping this stat? I mean, a lot of it depends on your like personal guild, like your overall gear, what kind of fight you're gearing for. There's so many factors for it. In general, when I'm looking at spell power, I want to have at least like 600. I feel like 600 is kind of the minimum for like rating, where like you're pretty chill on threat. Like you shouldn't have to worry too
With
much.
consumes or
Uh, I mean, for me personally, I like 600 on buffed, but like as
yeah,
a
I can tell you that I
minimum.
don't I do not have
But
that with my gear.
yeah. But that said, I see that as like kind of the floor. Like if I'm going below 600, I'm like, okay, there's gonna be potentially some threat issues. But I mean, these more casual prop eyes that BB's talking about, I don't know, like maybe they're just in groups where nobody does damage and you don't actually need the threat. Like you gear for your raid, and if your raid just does no damage and no threat, then maybe you need less spell power. But
Yeah,
I think,
I did log
yeah,
in right now, and I do have 515 spell power with spell power weapon.
550, damn. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit under geared.
That's, yeah, we got to pump those numbers up, Riani.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah.
I feel like like the people that are saying that spell power is a meme are the same people that are, you know, their experience with the game is through a class Discord.
Hmm.
You know, they suck at the game. I mean, let's just say it like it is.
Wait,
Like if that's your view, you just play with bad people. You know, that's fine. That's fine. But like, don't drag us into this.
it,
uh,
I'm out of the loop on the class discourse. Is that something they're actually pushing? Like spell power is bad?
not necessarily. I think there is definitely a conversation around balance that, you know, spell power is not above everything in the current class Discord, but
Hmm.
throughout history we do know the philosophy of class Discords in general when it comes to offensive utility
Yeah.
on tanks.
Yeah.
And I've been browsing a little bit, and I don't think I don't think it's as bad as it has been, but I think the class Discords are still kind of in that mindset a little bit.
It is
Um,
interesting how
but
they always
not
like
as much though.
they always kind of default to that. Like no matter who's
Yeah.
like modding it and who's running the show, somehow they always end up there. It's very, very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And then BB continues, I personally have seen way more druids holding their own in phase one, which I don't remember being a thing until later phases. Is this recency bias or have you experienced this as well? And why could that be? I mean, druid honestly just comes online pretty quick. I feel like obviously it gets better and better as the expansion goes on, to the point where Blizzard was like, we need to just debuff all tanks in Sunwell. Like we gotta get rid of your dodge. Like this is getting insane. Uh so I mean, yeah, Druids, they like high health pool, high armor, high amount of dodge. Like they're very good in like single target situation, where EHP is important. Like even early on, and even phase one gear, they're already for sure coming online and just get better and better. Yeah, they're Druid's very, very good at what it does.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have this kind of idea that you need to have a pally off tank at least, because druids can't handle AoE. But they can, as long as you can tap targets. But there's really not at the moment. There's really no reason to AOE tank. Like it's like you want it sure on the on my Therodon for the first phase, but I mean apart from that, you don't really need to AOE tank, and so there's really no reason to why you would need to have a prop pally like you might associate with um, the normal standard setup of having a main tank, whether that's bear or warrior. Warrior is actually a very capable tank. That would be completely fine having a warrior instead of a bear, but I think I prefer bear. Um, and then you have a pally off tank, but um, that's you really don't need that pally off tank at the moment. It will be much more valuable once we get into next phase.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the value comes next phase and beyond. I think Kara. I mean, Kara is just really nice on prop A. Lots of AoE pulls and get to do your thing, but obviously not required. You don't have to have one.
Yep.
Let's see. So next question, Pablo. What do you think will be needed gear-wise for phase 2 in terms of crit, crush immunity, pre and post nerf? So I think the main fight I would go Uncrush for would be if you were main tanking Tidewalker. Carrot Thrust if you're tanking the Wind Fury guy. And maybe Vaj if you're main tanking Vaj.
I don't remember Bash being too bad.
I remember doing a lot of damage last time. I could be wrong. I'd have to look at it again. But you maybe wouldn't need to for that either. I mean, ultimately, all this stuff, it's probably going to be one of those things like you wear on Crush week 1, you see how things are, and maybe you just go on crit after that.
Yeah,
But
that's usually I think the best philosophy in general.
yeah,
Is if you don't have a very in-depth like understanding of the fights and damage intake and all that, just run more defensive than you need to be at the start. There's obviously a few fights where you really don't care about Uncrush, but I think for the fights where you are going to be tanking the majority of the time, just run a set that has that. Especially if you move into that phase with being close to Bis, it's not going to be a hard thing to do. You're going to probably realize quickly that you don't need it, and then you can adjust for the next week. And that's usually always how things are in classic when new things come out. You go week 1, BWD, you stack a bunch of mastery, and then you realize, oh, I don't need to do this.
oh yeah, what's this net God, what was that guy's name? What was that Newman Blood DK? Week 1. That he was like
Yeah,
the guy that did the haste stuff, and
yeah, it wasn't
I'm forgetting his name, but
Nestor.
I would no, it
Nestor?
wasn't Nestor. It was I immediately thought Nestor too.
I know where
It's not him though,
talking about,
but
yeah.
anyway, yeah, it's like, I mean, we went ahead with mastery and stuff week 1. We're like, oh, wait a second, there's this other guy doing double damage and he's doing the same HPS.
Right.
Maybe there's a different way to do this.
Yeah.
Week 1's always weird though. Like you go in, you figure it out, you see what you actually need to be more defensive on, what you don't, and especially for like a lot of guilds too, you're progging week 1 too, right? Like most guilds don't go in having cleared everything multiple times on PTR, and it's essentially just for them, like a week 5 raid, like you're just re-clearing kind of thing. For a lot of guilds, like you're progging through everything. You want to save time. If you're dying as a tank because you went super aggressive week one, you're wasting
Yeah.
time. Maybe you're leaving boss kills on the table. Maybe you lose so much time. Your guild doesn't even have enough time for the week. It is a shorter week too. Raid comes out on Thursdays. So that obviously throws a wrench in a lot of runs that normally go like Tuesday or Wednesday. So yeah, any time you can save week one just by gearing a little bit differently as a tank is always really beneficial just for your guild as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. And
Uh,
I think this is not necessarily related to the question, but I think a lot of people are forgetting how good stamina is as well. I think people get a little bit too fixated on the uncrush versus crush type, part of the conversation, but then neglect to, value stamina in their gearing. Stamina is insane.
mhm.
Like there's no better staff for survivability than stamina. I think uncrush will obviously, be very important if you want to remove those big hits from the table. Um, but um, um, but don't feel like oh, I have Uncrush now. I can't die. I'm gonna put my spell power gems and stuff like that. Like, um, there's always these efficient trade-offs to make, and this has been a thing like throughout my entire career here on the internet, where I've been talking about efficiency and the trade-offs, where damage versus um, defensiveness, and like the meta gem, going stamina meta gem there, it's like the one of the best trade-offs you can make in terms of survivability. I am one of these degenerate parsers, but I still have stamina in my helmet. Um, so I think I just wanted to throw that out there now because I think a lot of people are ignoring stamina too much.
Yeah, no, stamina is always king for survivability. Uh Uncrush, I feel like it is very important, like for some things. I mean, on like Mag, for example, you take like two back-to-back 9K crushes, and it's like, well,
Womp womp.
but yeah, if you can combine Uncrush with some extra stam, that's when your survivability gets really good. And in phase two, also, you get so much more block rating. It just becomes really easy. Like prop pay gets so much better just because of kind of the gear available to you. In all your
Yeah.
main slots in phase two, you're gonna have a piece that has stam, int, block rating, spell power, and then something else like block value or something. But block rating is so efficient at getting uncrush, and you're gonna have 5 slots next phase because you're still gonna use your tier 4 two-piece with the shoulders and chest. You have 5 slots. All those other main slots, those all have new tier 5 pieces that have 5, 6 total stats on them, some gem sagas, and the gear gets crazy. Uncrush kind of becomes free just with all the block rating available. And you can maintain super high spell power while being uncrush. It's a really good time
Yeah.
for prop buy. And then second part of Papa's question was recommendation for resist gear. How much will you need best pieces to get? In general, 244 is like kind of the safe like floor to aim for because that just pushes unresisted hits off the table. Uh, the difference between taking a 75% and 100 is pretty significant as far as burst damage intake goes. You're taking, was it, I think it's a 40% ish damage increase between the two if you're going from a 75% hit up to a 100% hit. It's somewhere around 40%, so it's effectively like a crushing blow, like spell hit basically.
Right.
um So if you can just push those off the table, that is like the biggest thing for your survivability. You're also at that point, I think at 244, you're something like 50% chance to go 50% resist, which I mean, there's 50% chance to like essentially have like a shield wall up, for each hit is pretty huge.
Yeah.
And the easiest ways to get there, Scarab, Petrified Scarab from AQ40, this is like the highest value thing you can get because a lot of things don't take the charges away. So it just gives you 100 resist. The fights are really short. It lasts a full minute. Generally, there's specific phases that do the like main bulk of the damage. Like on Hydros, for example, the when you have like ads and Hydros attacking you, that'd be like a higher damage portion. The first minute of the fight, it's only gonna be Hydros. Second minute of the fight, it's gonna be ads and Hydros. Third minute of the fight, ads and Hydros. And then based on your kill time, like you're probably pretty quickly getting the fight down to like a 230 kill time. So at that point, you're looking at one phase of Hydros where he is it's just him. He is going to scale up to 50% more damage, and then you're phasing him right before he hits the 100%. And then you're gonna have that ad phase. You can banish the ads potentially too if you want, but that would be the super high damage part if you're taking Hydros and the ads there. That would be a great time for Scarab. It would just, make you take significantly less damage. And if you can just use one trinket slot to effectively get 2 to 3 slots worth of resist, that's huge. Like trading one trinket to wear 3 actual pieces of gear, that's so far beyond the value a single trinket brings you, like a single damage trinket or whatever brings you. Petrified Scarab is just insane. And like based on your kill times, like the value just goes through the roof. Leotheris also, like if you're getting one demon phase, a lot of prop guys will solo tank Leotheris. He doesn't do a whole lot of damage in his regular phase. You actually don't even probably need to be uncrit for him. We did a lot of last TBC not even being uncrit for Leotheris. That's how little damage he does. And then for the demon phase, once you have a good kill time, you'll have one demon phase. So you could reliably just have Scarab, have that extra 100 resist for that one demon phase, and then you're good to go. And as a Pally too, I am 99% sure you can bubble the debuffs off too if you did get a second demon phase. And the way his like Chaos Blast works, it's like ramping damage. So the early ones do like nothing. And then as you get stacks on you, that's when it becomes dangerous. So, I mean, depending on your kill tabs, like he might do almost nothing, and the Petrified Scarab value is just going to be off the charts. So that would be my number one thing, especially this phase where there's so little stuff to do in 25-man. Like my guild does a quick AQ40 first few bosses before each 25-man raid. It's fast. You get Badge of the Swarm Guard, which a bunch of Fizz DPS want. Maybe some Warlocks want Fetish of the Sand Reaver for big seed pulls later. That'll be a thing as, our 25-man raids last more than 20 minutes, and there's a lot more trash you're killing. And then you can grab a Petrified Scarab for your tanks while you're in there. It's pretty quick, and you'll get trinkets that people will use rest of the expansion. So Petrified Scarab would be my like number one thing to go for. Other gear, fire res gear, badge gear is good. You've got 4 options there. You could grab a few of those. You can also use those later for Illidan. And then one of the really big ones is Ethereum Prison keys. You send those. You have a chance to get any type of resist. I think it's ring, cloak, maybe neck. But it can roll any kind of resist, stam, spell power. Can't remember if it has int on it too, but spell power, resist, stam. Those are 3 main things we care about. It rolls randomly with those. You can get like a really nice fire res cloak that way, fire res ring, frost res ring, whatever. So those are great. And a lot of times they pay for themselves. There's if you have a disenchanter, you'll get so many DE mats running these Ethereum prison keys, and then occasionally you get a really good like BOE that you can sell for 100 plus gold. Between all that stuff, the Ethereum prison keys a lot of the times just kind of pay for themselves, and they're almost free to use. And so you're just getting chances that these like really good resist pieces essentially for free. You also get rep
Yeah.
at the same time too. So those would be my main things to focus on.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it's worth mentioning that you don't have to do the prison keys alone either.
Yeah.
Especially if you're two tanks who are trying to get different resist gear,
Yep.
just group up together.
Bring your
Grab
feral.
what one grabs the nature and one grabs the frost. Um, if you're, I know I had a rogue that opened a bunch of them early in the phase. He just like invited me. It's like,
Mhm.
come on over here, just hang out for a bit, see if you get anything. I got some really good boots. The of the night, I think it's called, which is like stamina, spell power, defense
Mhm.
boots, and they were super close to the ones you got from the heroics. I'm like, damn, all
Mhm.
right, I'll take it. Um, and now with the blue crystals, they disenchant, like they sell for like 18, 19, 20 gold,
Yeah.
and the key is less than that.
Keys are like 10
Um,
gold. On my server,
yeah,
it's like 10 gold for key. The crystals are like 18. So yeah,
yeah.
it's good.
So yeah, sharing is caring, and just make sure that you can recoup some gold. Because I know a lot of people just sank a bunch of gold into it without being an enchanter, and then you do lose
Mhm.
like quite a bit.
Yeah, each time we've done it, we have like 10 people there. Everybody just sends their
Yeah,
keys, and it's a nice little party.
yeah. I think it's also one of
Yeah.
those things where you kind of have to feel it out a little bit as well with how much resist you need. Probably just
Mhm.
send more than you need in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, you're probably gonna notice that, especially depending on what state of the raid we get, probably won't even need it. But it's better to have it and not need it than not having it and needing it.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, it just goes hand in hand with what we talked about with the Uncrush and like in general, just gearing a little bit more defensively week one. But yeah, the lowest I would aim for is like 244. But I mean, go like 300 plus. Like, just be fully prepared for whatever might happen. Um, Poland had an additional question on top of Pablo's there in regards to resist. What can we prepare phase one to get a little head start? I think we got already touched on all that, but I just wanted to mention his question. And then Soltix asked, comparing 2021 to current form of TBC, the bar across different levels of gameplay has been set higher. What has emerged is a different mindset of how players are treating heroics, over optimization of raid comps for parses, and ongoing debates about highly contested drops, potentially forcing Blizzard to make an announcement soon, TM. With all of these in mind, it seems that tank threat will be more valued than ever before as we enter SSC/TK. The survivability difference between pre-raid BIS and P1 BIS means that there wasn't much we could optimize for threat until more raid loot dropped for you. But with T4 having nerfed bosses, threat has become the number one stat. Since every guild has a different looking system, and if RNGesus hasn't blessed you, what future upgrades from SSCTK would you value as number one tank pro to help stay above the curve? Uh,
Obviously, for me, uh, was it the 100 deaths, 1,000 deaths
oh
that helped?
yes. And that'll be big for the twist build. Nobody
Uh,
will be mad about that at all either, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's great.
it's
Love to hear
it's
it.
great that it's uncontested. I mean, normally it gets disenchanted, right? So it's good it
Mhm.
finally has some place to go. The prop high can take it for one hand twisting. Um, yeah, I mean, biggest one of the biggest things next phase we talked about, like Tomo Fire Redemption, that it's not contested, but that's a great
Yeah.
one. You really want to pick that up. Uh, Obviously, you need a lard to just drop it for you, and that's essentially it. But that's one of the main ones you're looking for. That'll help you quite a bit. And then the extra tier pieces we talked about, the new helm, the legs, the gloves that have a bajillion stats on them. They're just like OP as hell. Uh, those would be my three, like probably biggest things I'm looking for next phase is just early tier helm, gloves, and legs. It just makes everything so much easier with gearing.
Yeah. I think it's also worth thinking about what group you put your main tank in. Because I know a lot of people really prioritize gear on their main tank, like on their pally. Like usually as a tank, you get funneled a little bit. You know, like spell power weapon dropped, pally prio, um, the IO mag. Well, no one really wants IO mag, but tank prio. But I think in a lot of cases, it's probably just better to give that spell power weapon to a mage or someone who is pumping, and then just put the pally in a better group where they can get more threats. People usually just shove them off into a healer group or something, and then they wonder, well, why can't we pump from the first global? Yeah, let me think about that a little bit. You know, especially if you're going more of a defensive route because you're going into a new raid with the last phase's gear. Um, I I haven't really felt this issue that people have when it comes to threats. Um, but could of course be a little a little case of privilege there with having played the game for 20 years. Uh, even if I'm in a healer group, I really don't feel the threat issues. But maybe hunters don't MD in other groups. Maybe people are going more defensively. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hunter MD for sure carries and it's on GCD, so it's like, you know, depending on what hunter you have with you, like they may be one of those players where they don't press things that don't increase their parse, and yeah,
Right.
a lot of tank threat is just reliant on do your hunters actually press MD. You're gonna
Yeah.
have a much easier job if they do. But yeah, I don't know. In general, like for the weapon specifically, I mean, tanks really should be just trying to get the 1700 arena rating weapon so they don't have to contest with anybody. Because it's such a good weapon, and you can literally just buy a carry. Like, obviously, you got farm gold for it. You can buy the 1700 carry, though, if you need to. A lot of people, 1700 is an attainable rating on their own. But if it's not, buy the carry for it. Get the weapon. I mean, if you can buy your best weapon for a couple thousand gold, it's pretty good. But depends on how much you play the game too, right? Like, do you have gold? Maybe,
Yep.
maybe. But if we're talking about like rate optimizations, I think you got to at least do the minimum of like get your fairly easy to get bis weapon for the phase from arena. But like especially next phase when the arena weapon has spell hit on it, it's like spell power, spell hit,
Yeah.
Rezil stam. It's pretty good. And then I mean the Merciless Gladiator's barrier too. You got I think
Yeah.
5700 armor shield with almost 30 spell power on it and bunch of stam. So like definitely don't sleep on PvP. You can get a lot of your gear you need from there.
Indeed. Indeed.
Let's see. Did we have I think we got some other questions from chat too.
Yeah. I can start with Sheffy.
I want to know how necessary figuring is for solo farming. Otherwise, how do you cope in dungeons? Seems a horrible experience for tanks. Uh, okay, so I mean, for solo, figuring's pretty important. Eventually, you reach a point where you can just do so much damage you don't actually need it. Last TBC, I didn't really reach that point until I think like BT Hajal gear, but maybe it could be done sooner. You could just pull smaller too, I guess. Like if you have enough spell power, you just can't kill things before you need the figurine heal. So, it,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
when you're starting, especially when you're trying to when you have both lower gear and trying to get more comfortable with the pulls,
mm, it
I
does
think
help a
figurine is
lot.
so nice. Yeah.
If you're going in
Um
with zero experience and no figurine, that's gonna be
yeah.
tough.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
like you said, eventually you just don't really need it for a lot of the farms. I'm personally not farming any dungeons. Um, I get by pretty well without it if I don't want to use it, but it is really nice. It is really nice to have, even for me who's not in dungeons farming gold.
he also has though, how do you cope in dungeons? Seems a horrible experience for tanks. I mean, the number one thing is just find a guild. Like, hugging in this game is such a bad experience. For me personally,
Yeah.
the game isn't worth playing if you're pugging everything. Like, you gotta, you gotta just find a guild, find some consistent players to play with. They don't even have to be the best players in the world. Just like some people, like you can, like you want to be around, for an amount of time and who are good enough that you can get stuff done. That's all you need. You don't have to have the best players in the world with you, but just I would find a community where you're playing with the same people and you don't have to pug because pugging sucks. It's just so bad, especially as a tank. If you're newer to tanking too, it's gonna be awful. That's why there's always a tank shortage, is because the experience is horrible. Like, n- there's such a small percentage of people that will go through the pug tank experience and come out of it like being a long-term tank. Almost everybody is going to get beaten into the ground until they never want to tank again. Now there's a tank shortage. Wow, how did that happen? Everybody's super toxic towards the tanks as they're trying to learn. I wonder.
I was kind of close to just like not logging on to TBC anymore after like even just the leveling process. I try to do like some mana tomb spell cleave group, and people just have so many like expectations of what the other person should already know.
Hmm.
And then like, oh, I've done it this way for, however many pulls. Oh, but this guy expects you to have done it this way for, a lifetime and know
Yeah.
exactly how many and timings. And it's like,
I'm sure they
oh
also
man,
communicated that in a very constructive way too. Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
for sure, for sure. I legit just went out and started questing as a prot pally after
yeah.
that. I'm just like, no, I
No,
can't play the
I
game this
mean,
way.
like literally, the game is not worth playing. Uh, I don't think it has any role, but definitely not as a tank. If all you do in this game is pug, there's no chance of the
Yeah.
world I would ever want to play that game. Like the only thing that makes the game fun is when you have like consistent people that you play with who are gonna at least like do the right thing most of the time. And but the main thing is you get familiar with them. They're not gonna be insanely toxic every time like anything goes wrong. You learn together. You learn how to play off each other's strengths, that kind of stuff. And they're people you can stand to be around. That's
Yeah.
that's what matters.
Indeed. Indeed.
Hando also says Riani is like a fine wine. He just gets better with age. Agree? Agree?
Oh.
For phase one, I do feel sorry for feral tanks that are solo tanking Kara while I'm living the good life solo tanking it. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think they're doing all right. Feral seems fine.
Probably some pretty annoying pulls for sure, but I think
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, it's all good.
Is Seal of Vengeance worth using with I have mag, or do you instead regear to not have spell hit? Seal of Vengeance, I don't think is ever really worth using. Like technically played perfectly, weaving Seal of Vengeance, like maintaining a 5 stack while also using Seal of Righteousness. Technically on paper it can be a little bit more damage. In practice, it just falls off all the time. You gotta land the white attack. You got to proc the Seal of Vengeance. Doesn't proc every time you hit. And then there's a spell hit check on the application, so you have to do that. You have to jump through 3 hoops to get 1 Seal of Vengeance up. It just becomes very, very annoying. I personally don't think it's worth it. If you want to do it, go for it, but I think it sucks.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning as well that I'm pretty sure that vengeance and righteousness are, a two-way twist. So if you have a slow spell power weapon,
Is
you can
Vengeance?
certainly.
I
What's
thought it
that?
was I thought it was only SOR and command. I could be wrong.
No, there are actually other ones as well. I know, like
Or
the
justice
technically
maybe.
like
I think just
wisdom and stuff.
no, I don't think wisdom. I was testing that in pre-patch.
Mm.
I don't
I'll
think
have to do
that was working.
research, I guess,
But
but
yeah.
I think I've seen some evidence of them being a two-way twist,
Okay.
but I have not really played around with it myself, so
Okay.
I can't say for sure.
I don't think I've seen a single log of anybody using SOV, but I
Yeah,
usually only look at the top ones.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that'd
But
be
if
that'd be
that's
interesting, but at
yeah,
the
if that's the
same
case, you can get a
time,
marginal gain. But I think maybe more so to what you were alluding to. You could potentially get a few more procs of IO Mag if you purely use it during downtime and it doesn't affect your judgments and your holy shields and your consecration.
are the application resists progging AvMag? Is that what happens? Or where?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that at all. I'd have to look into that. Because if that's the case, that could be kind of interesting. I don't think you ever want to drop your spell hit though, like for I have mag specifically.
Yeah. No. I think Eye of Mag is another case where you might want to start prioritizing other gearing if it's applicable. Like for example, if you're using a melee weapon like I am, then it's already better to use melee hits. But if you have IO mag, then that pushes it a little bit further. That melee hit is better than spell hits. For example. Um, but it's not like it's gonna majorly change your gearing because like the reason we talked about why spell hit is good is because you have that consistency on pull, and what the fuck is it's a proc of you know IO mag gonna do
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have any spells to hit.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Is that all the questions we had? I think it might have been.
Yeah, well, I have one more question about IO mag as well with compared to a healer trinket.
Oh, just comparing them. I mean, the main thing with the healer trinket is just like fight length. When you have those like super short care fights where you might have 100% uptime on the double trinket with wings and lust, it's kind of hard to beat it. I mean, technically, yeah, mag could be
You
better,
can
but it
get
would need to
yeah.
proc. But like, you have 2 seconds of fight time to like proc it. Basically, it's like
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's gonna be
basically
so
you know, how
RNG.
much
Yeah,
how much do you want to gamble?
yeah,
You know, it's 100% chance to get, you know, 90% of the value, whereas you can extract that last little bit of value by using IOMag, but it's, you know, it's a gamble. But it's when the fights get longer that you
mm,
default into IOMag for sure.
yeah, 100%. Procs only on first tick cons. It's not even the tick of cons, it's the consecration's like cast effect. So there's like 9 events that happen with the cons cast. There's like the cast effect that happens, and then there's 8 damage ticks. The ticks themselves don't proc mag though. Just the consecration cast effect on the initial cast.
Yeah, I remember I had someone ask about, you know, can the first hit resist if I drop consecration and they run over the consecration? But you know, because
Yeah.
they take the first hits, you know, does that count
It's
as a
just like a
resistance?
misunderstanding of like how but consecration is so janky in this expansion. Like all the nitty gritty details
Yeah,
of it is like, I mean, it's that's why it has its own section in my guide. Is because it's just a weird spell. It's like what your most important spell, and it is just weird. All the like little details of it. Um, all right. I think that's our last question. We got anything else?
um, I mean, I feel like if you maybe tune in today and we're hoping to get, you know, get up to snuff on how to play Pally, you probably are leaving right now a little bit disappointed. It's not kind of what we were trying to go through. I mean, if you want kind of the basics of Prop Pally, I think Subtle has a great um resource both in his, you know, his written guide, but also, you know, if you're like me and don't take in information that's written down, you can also have him read it out to you in the YouTube video, which is, you know, much more preferable. You can just tune out, you know,
Just throw it on while you're
watch through that.
working, you know.
Exactly. We were watching it on stream as we were waiting for the portal to open. It was great.
Nice, nice.
Um, but I think what I want to communicate is that Prop Paladin rewards creativity a lot. You have you have this you have this kind of a narrow view of what people think the Prop Paladin is and should be, but it has so much creativity to it. And even now, 20 years later, we're sitting here at it's currently 11 p.m., close to midnight. We're talking about, you know, oh, does it, you know, twist this way, and does it resist on proc, and does melee weapon, is that better? Expertise this, you know, it seems this, seems that. We're like, you know, we've played this game for a long ass time, and we're still trying to figure out the best way to approach the paladin in 2026, man. And I think if you lend yourself to be a little bit more creative and look outside the box, I think the prop paladin can be extremely fun, and you can figure out so many things that we haven't even touched on in here or in the guides. Um, and yeah, it's a fun spec, and don't limit yourself to what you read on my web.
Yep. Wow. Ronnie Ronnie going to war with Wowhead? Is that
No, even if I wrote the guide, you know, I said
damn,
don't
I'm
limit
like,
yourself by what Subtle said in his guide.
damn. Journey's gotta be sending you some angry DMs, dude.
You know, Jerry is my bae.
Yeah, for sure though. I mean, we just talked for like 3 hours about this much of like what prop value is and can do. And I
Yeah.
mean, we could talk forever going over everything. There's so many different facets to prop value. There's not like a one size fits all approach to anything about prop value. It's all maybe, depends. There's so much you can do with the class. It seems very simple on paper, like you don't have that many buttons in your rotation and seems kind of archaic, but when you dive more into it, there's so much nuance to it, so much detail, and there's just so much room to be creative, as Riani said. But yeah, and question in chat: will you update the guide for phase 2? Yes, I'll be updating the guide for each phase as we go. I just wanted to wait till we got confirmation from Blizzard on like what version of tier 5 we're getting, because some of my recommendations are going to be a little bit different if we're getting pre-nerf versus post-nerf. So I just want to save myself some time, and if they tell us, okay, we're getting post-nerf, then I'll write the guide specifically for post-nerf. If they say we're getting pre-nerf and then post-nerf, I'll write it for pre-nerf, but then add caveats to like what will change when post-nerf happens. But yeah, I'll continue to update that guide. I think it's almost 50 pages now. We'll have that linked in the description. By the end of the expansion, it'll probably be like 100 pages, and it still won't be everything I would want to say about Prop Ally is that kind of class, that kind of spec. But
Yeah.
you want to plug anything, Riani? Twitch, YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a bit of a bit of a rut when it comes to a lot of content right now. My main thing is still at the end of the day, Mr. Pandaria right now.
Mhm.
Um, which it's a bad time to have that as your main game for sure. But I am thinking about or I'm not thinking about it. I am going to be releasing some TBC content on YouTube, and a lot of that will be catered towards more min-maxy type of environment. So if you are someone who likes to pump, whether you're a DPS or a tank or whatever, then do check out the YouTube for sure. Riani, I think it's just Riani on
Riani
YouTube.
Wow, I think, right?
Really well. That's right. Thank you, Subtle.
No worries, I
You know
got
my
you.
channel
I
better
got
than I
you.
do.
It's a little late for you, I know. So I gotta help you
Yeah,
out.
pick up the slack. Exactly. And then I stream daily on Twitch. Not really. But that's the community joke. Usually only stream raids and stuff like that. Um, which is usually nowadays once or twice a week. And and but that usually goes up quite a bit when there is some exciting stuff going on. So make sure to follow there as well. Subtle and I are co-streaming right now if you're live, and you can just click that little name and go over to my stream and hit follow. And if you're in my stream, you can do the same to Subtle. It's great.
Synergy. We love it.
Indeed.
Yeah, when Siege of Org comes out in a couple of years, you'll be streaming a lot of that, I assume.
Probably not.
Is your guild gonna let you stream this time, or?
We haven't talked about it, but I'm gonna ask. I mean, I feel like, what's the point of hiding tactics for the one or two other guilds we're competing with?
Yeah,
I mean, if they don't want it, I'll respect that. But
sure.
obviously, if I'm gonna spend a significant amount of time on the PTR, I would like to stream it for sure.
Of course. Yep. All right. I can't remember if you mentioned it, but Riani also has some great Wowhead guides for MoP. Do you have any TBC ones, or just MoP focus?
Just MoP for now.
Okay. Blood Decay, Prot Warrior, Is there anything else?
Yeah, but keep Prot where then the raid guides, the tier list, and then
Mm,
like some new stuff and I have like a like vengeance breakdowns that are
okay,
more analytical, like more in depth and stuff like that.
sure.
So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I'll have all the links for Rihanna's stuff in the video description for you guys if you're watching this on YouTube later. For me, Subtle FW on Twitch, on YouTube, uh, doing still doing MoP raids, still doing TBC raids. We have the written guide too for TBC Prop Eye. That'll be in the description as well. That's a guide I'm continuing to update as each phase goes on and new information becomes available. We're adding to it, but lots of detail in there, lots of nitty gritty stuff, stuff that hopefully is beyond what you might find from other sources. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback that people who were, struggling on Prop Pally, green parsing, whatever, have been able to read the guide and completely turn everything around. They feel great on Prop I. They're, 90, 99 parsing now after reading the guide. So that's great to hear that we just have, actual people telling me that just reading it completely changed everything for them for TBC Prop I. But on the YouTube channel, we'll have more TBC videos as well. Some MoP Siege of Orc stuff at some point. And I'm also getting into Path of Exile now. I've just started kind of playing that last season. And this season, I'm going much more into it. I'm going to get more into, speed running and racing and all that stuff. But there's so much to learn with the game that, baby steps. We're working our way there. But it's definitely kind of becoming my like second game aside from WoW, if you want to check that stuff out too. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers. I thought this was gonna be a shorter podcast. I was like, yeah, we don't have that much to talk about, but I trick myself every single time. It's always good. Like, I mean, it's just the two of us too, because like some of these podcasts, we got like 4 or 5 people on here. There's entire raids to talk about and stuff, and I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously that's gonna be like a 3 or 4 hour podcast. We'll talk about like parsing and Y-hand twisting and stuff. Apparently, that's a 3 hour podcast. I thought it'd be shorter, but here we are. Here we are.
We tend to yap a little
We
bit.
we ramble a little bit.
Gone,
A little
gone
bit
are the
yapping.
days of the 50 to 60 minute
Yeah.
Week Sam Tavern days.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The Yap City population us for sure. But thank you as always for joining. We'll I'm sure be talking again soon for something, whether it's Siege of Org, Phase 2, TBC, whatever it is. But thank you as always for coming on, and we will